Hello, everybody. I am your host, Brad Ellis. Welcome to Frame Trap, a bi-weekly, in-depth gaming discussion podcast. Joining me this week is my co-host, as always, Michael Damiani.
Mobile games.
Oh, boy.
Oh, shit.
Hooray.
Oh, yeah.
And our guest this week is Daniel Bloodworth.
Yo. Hello.
Hello. It's good to see you dudes again. Good to be here to talk some games this week. Got some good stuff on the roster. It's been a pretty good time. Pretty good time for games. Before we get into everything, though, please check us out on patreon.com/easyallies. If you'd like to support us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Leave a nice rating if you're joining the show on any of the podcast apps you use. It does help us reach new audiences out there, so we do appreciate that. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Bloodworth.
Yo.
You're the racing guy. You just been thrown into it. I kind of like, it's kind of funny how you just got thrown into that. The racing category, the racing guy, just because no one else really wants to do it.
I don't even know if it was necessarily that, but yeah.
You like racing stuff,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, I kind of started sort of quote unquote specializing in racing games around like when Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 came out on the GameCube.
Yeah, I would have said like you or Huber would be our racing guys.
But definitely, definitely like a GT. Like I'd never played. I mean, there were some things like Top Gear Rally on N64 or whatever, but like I'd never played like a Forza or a Gran Turismo before. Like I started having to review those at GT.
Yeah,
there was some other. I forget what it was. There was some other like lower, like more like less visually impressive one of those that I had played first before, like Forza Motorsport 3. And then like GT5 was just like that was like one of those games where like I had to, that's when I got my monitor actually.
Oh.
Because I had to review that over Thanksgiving weekend, and I was going out of town like I always did during that time. And so I was like, well, I need to play GT5 while I'm out of town, but I don't want to take over this like family's TV the whole weekend. Right. So like went to a Best Buy and got this like little slim monitor and like stuck it in the back of the car with our duffel bags and just set it up in the side room.
How long were you playing on CRTVs for, Blood? Were you playing on them up till that point, pretty much?
Well, my HD was my HD TV was a CRT. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, my first HD TV had like got off of like Craigslist. Took like 4 people to lift.
I think I got my first HD TV in like 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing Twilight Princess on like a tube TV or a CRT TV.
Yeah.
Then I got an HD one, and I was like, ew, it looks ugly.
Yeah, I was still playing SD stuff. Like Fallout 3, I played entirely in SD.
Damn, dude, that's pretty sick.
Until some DLCs came out.
Yeah, I think I got like a plasma, because remember the different types were still like competing for HD. So I got like the plasma one, I think. And, it was like a special with like, because I got that, an Xbox 360 and Halo 3.
Oh,
like I got like a big bundle at a Best Buy. It was like,
that's a sick bundle.
It's time. It's like, yo, Halo 3 looks sick. Been waiting to get a 360 finally, and like I need an HD TV of some sort to play these on. Because I was playing Wii on like a CRTV as well. I was like, I don't need an HD TV for Wii, but it's like I'm getting a 360.
My SD TV, which I still have in the closet, it has like a 16:9 mode where it's just gonna like that's that thing. But so it worked great. And like older stuff still looks great on that TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wish I had an old TV still.
But yeah, so Forza, obviously, like I said, I've been playing since 3. I actually have gone back to like 1 and 2 for various projects. Like for a lot of years, every time a new Forza would come out, I would do like full timeline because they're like they have like a lot of the same cars and the same tracks. So it's like, okay, comparison video time. Every Forza that's ever come out, this car, this track, let's do it.
Man, those are the days.
Yeah, and a lot of the replay angles were the same. So, but that's the thing is this time they used to be on this every other year, Forza Motorsport. And then Horizon came in and took the off years.
I do remember that.
And then, it was clear, I think starting with 5, that like, okay, something is not working out with this production cycle. Because 4 was sort of the pinnacle. Like 3 introduced a lot and it really made it like a gold standard, like real like competitor to Gran Turismo. 4 just killed it with content, and then 5 was the first one on Xbox One where it's just like, okay, now they're like kind of starting from scratch in terms of like a lot of, so it was just missing a lot of stuff.
Right.
And then 6 and 7, they just, like the core was all right, but they just were doing weird things with trying to mix up mechanics. It just didn't play too well with me.
Yeah, I mean, let's dive into it. You did play Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
Just Forza Motorsport. I was very confused at first when I saw that. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it.
I've played, so the preview build is basically like the introduction to the game.
Okay.
So you've got a couple of tutorial races, and then this kind of like mini version of what they're like cups, when they call it, like builders cups. And so they've got a bunch of these builders cups that are usually like 5, 6, 7 races long, but the first one that introduces you to the whole concept is like 3.
Okay.
So it's like basically hour to hour and a half of the beginning of the game. A lot of the other stuff is locked
early.
out.
Okay.
I could have replayed the same tracks that I did, but I didn't really have like options to like free play or time trial or any of the other modes or whatever. Off the bat, of course, any racing game and a lot of games this gen, graphics options before you even get into it. So they have 3 modes. They have performance, which is 60 frames per second at 4K, no ray tracing.
That's like Forza, or sorry, Gran Turismo, right? I think Gran Turismo is the same. Okay.
Performance RT, which is 60 frames per second with ray tracing with a variable resolution.
Oh, okay.
So it's not locked at 4K.
Okay, got it.
And then probably Digital Foundry's already figured out the numbers on what it's actually going back and forth on. And then they've got the quote-unquote visuals mode, which is 4K with ray tracing on, but at 30 frames per second. Which I don't know why you would do that. Anyway. If you're putting together a specific video, I guess.
Yeah,
but
Isla was playing in what was the last Horizon 5? She was playing in 30 frames per second.
But even that is like a little bit more acceptable than playing a sim race game.
No. 60 frames for racing game only. Blood nowadays.
Yeah.
That's how you got to do it.
Horizon has always had a really great 30 frames per second, though, even before they could do 60, because it's open world. But anyways, Sims 60 better be there, and it is. And it's solid. They added some extra little options on the difficulty stuff. So like, rather than just turning like traction control and ABS, traction control and stability control on or off, there's like an in-between option now that they call Sport, to where like it'll like let it slip a little bit, so you can have that sense of like trying to correct it, and then it's like, okay, if it goes a little too long, it's like, okay, then we'll kick in the traction control or whatever. But yeah, so the way this is set up, like, it does you're kind of like just throws you into a couple of cars at first, and then it gets you into this Builders Cup. So you do 2 little quick races where you can just get a feel for things, and that's Maple Valley and then Hakone, Japan, which they like basically put you at the end of an endurance race for that one.
Okay.
And like a faster car. And then they get you into this Builders Cup, and there's a couple of things here that are really cool in terms of like how they've sort of rethought and reinvented just the progression in a lot of the systems. First off is something I've been wanting for Forza stuff for a long time, is that they actually have practice rounds. So practice is kind of like a mandatory part of the progression. So when you go to a race, you do some practice laps, and so you have to put in, I think, like 2 or 3 laps depending on the length of the track, and then there's a bonus objective to like get like a certain lap time, and then you'll get into the race. The 3 starter cars, there's Hero would probably dig these. There's a Subaru STI.
Yep.
There's a Honda Civic, and there's a Ford Mustang.
He would not dig that one.
I went with the STI, and then they have like the difficulty screen where you can like pick between like Drivatar speed, and like they've got like rule set bonuses. So it's like if you want to like take more penalties for like going off track or bumping other drivers and stuff like that, as well as stuff like fuel, tire damage and stuff. And then basically, the higher you put those things in, like the more bonus credits you'll get from races. And then your car, so what's your starter car, So you basically are earning like 3 types of currency. So you have your credits, you have your driver XP, but then you have your car XP. And so each individual car
you have to level up
is earning XP, and it goes pretty fast. Like I was like learning, like I got up to like 8 or 9 or whatever in just the first hour and a half with this car.
Do you know what the cap for cars is?
I don't know.
Okay.
But why this matters is the level that you've gotten XP with your car determines what kinds of parts that you have unlocked between races. So when you upgrade your car, it's basically a matter of like how much time that you put into your car determines what different things. So it's like when you're kind of like low level or whatever, then it's like, okay, you can mess with the air filter and the exhaust and stuff, but it's like, okay, if you want a full conversion, it's like, no, you need to put some time into that car first. You need to get to a higher level.
Okay. We have some questions regarding all this. Do you want to just keep going, though, and we'll get to them at the end? Or
well, I mean, if you hear something that sounds like something
we got
they're
someone right
about,
on here, right what you're talking about. It's from Beating Down Brian. Hey, allies. I've been hesitant about the car PG system in Forza. In theory, leveling up your car to unlock new parts sounds fine, but I think about how often I need to purchase a new car so I can jump into a multiplayer race that requires a certain car or class of a car. Am I now going to have to level up those cars in single player in order for them to be competitive in multiplayer? I'm worried the system is going to add a huge amount of unnecessary grinding if so.
So I don't know in terms of multiplayer stuff because it's not unlocked at the preview build.
Okay.
However, Forza's tended to have loaner cars.
Okay.
So
we'll if
you're going on to multiplayer, I would assume that there would be some form of loaner cars, and maybe even like some form of tuning to like make it competitive or whatever.
I think this system could be fine for single player and interesting, but for multiplayer, like Beating Down Brian was saying, it might be a little rough. If you feel like you have to grind to just even get into the race, I guess. Because you're going to have to grind for cash probably or whatever as well to buy cars, I guess.
Yeah, but the way that like the Builders' Cups look like they're set up, because they all do focus on like different types of cars and those different classes. So I imagine it would probably be just one of those things where, like you need to like invest a little bit of time in the single player. And just like naturally, like by doing some of those like single player campaigns, you're going to have a variety of cars. Unless you're just wanting to jump into the fastest thing first off, you might not be able to do that. But
Bloodworth, someone like me who I only really played Gran Turismo 7. That was pretty much my intro to the series. But I loved license tests, stuff like that. Do you know if there's anything like equivalent to that in this game?
I haven't seen anything along those lines yet.
Maybe not necessarily exactly the same.
I mean, the practice does scratch that itch a little bit because they are tracking like your sector times and stuff like that. And so you will get like bonus XP and credits and stuff for like improving your time on a section of the track.
So is it going to be like, do you like level up and like get a random car? Do you like... all I have for reference is Gran Turismo, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that I haven't seen in like a wheel spin type of thing like that or Forza Horizon.
Dude, man, those things. I would always just get the lowest amount of cash every time. It was so annoying.
But yeah, that's a fair point that like, these games do tend to just hand out cars like candy. So that's one of the things to be aware of, to watch out for like when the final game comes out, to see how that car investment plays out versus like how many cars that you just have in your garage that you're not even touching. So, but in terms of like this intro, it's like, you stuck with the one car through the whole cup.
Yeah.
So,
Blood. So you played a little bit of it. How is the game visually looking to you? Car games usually look really nice, very nice showpieces. How's this one looking?
Yeah, it's looking good for the most part. There are some things that are like, they're never a priority in these like sim heavy games. Like the damage is pretty much just like, I bumped that guy and then like there's a giant huge scrape down the side of his car. And then one thing I do hope gets kind of like tweaked a little bit is the last race I did was a night race.
Okay.
And with the ray tracing, the lighting and stuff, with the high beams and everything, like it looks nice. However, there was a weird thing going on with like the texture on the road to where it was like the blacks in the noise of the texture were like too dark and like stood out too much. So I felt like you know how like there would be like this like shredded rubber and stuff like on the side of a track after a couple of laps. It felt like I was driving over that because it was just so dark and so distinct, like the noise on the track. And then I like changed camera angles and like, oh, like no, I'm not going over rubber. That's just the texture just looks weird in this lighting for whatever strange reason. But that's the only thing that like stuck out to me as being like a bad thing. But there, like, there's one point where I saw like some other AI drivers just kind of like scraping up against each other a little bit. So it's like, there was like sparks flying and stuff. So there was a nice little touch.
Cool.
But yeah, it is weird because it's like I feel like we've gotten to a point with these games where it's like if you don't put them side by side, they've all looked so good for so long that it's like you kind of have to like pay attention. It's like, oh yeah, I can see my car reflecting in the other car. The ray tracing is paying off right there.
Jimmy wrote in, "Hey allies, I've got kind of a weird concern about the upcoming Forza Motorsport. The way they described the career mode working is that for each race you choose your starting position and the AI difficulty after practicing. While player choice is generally a good thing, this sounds to me like it puts a huge burden on the player to figure out how to tune their difficulty. Any game with difficulty selection requires players to figure out what's appropriately fun for themselves, but having two axes to adjust the granularity of the 7 AI settings and 24 starting positions to choose from, along with all the assist settings, seems like it'll all greatly magnify the hassle and uncertainty of it. I'm worried it'll be almost impossible to race without constantly wondering if I'm making the game too easy or too hard. Is this a reasonable concern, or am I just overthinking it? Thanks for taking my questions. If you do, I respect Jimmy."
Yeah, so they've added a couple of little layers like that. I do think that they, like, even in this section, like, they introduced them just, like, a little bit of a time to not totally overwhelm you, but I can see, like, if you're not super familiar, it's fine. Just, like, go with, like, kind of the standard medium settings. The thing that they talked about with the grid position is an interesting new thing that they've added, though, because, and it doesn't even show up until like the 4th or 5th race, but basically you can make it more challenging for yourself and then get, again, like some like bonus rewards by just going further back in the grid. Okay. And so they'll show you kind of like, if you like say 12 is sort of the medium, if you go down to like 13th or 14th, and it's like, okay, well, if you can get to like 1st or 3rd, you'll get a bonus. If you go like deeper in, it's like, okay, you'll get a bonus if you get like between 2nd and 4th, and so, it's just kind of one of those things where I think if you're wanting to sort of challenge yourself with overtaking and you don't want to just be like looking at the cars in the rear view a lot, that's one thing that you can do. I will say that we'll see kind of like how the AI plays out or like with the penalty systems or whatever. But it did feel like it was really easy to just like barge a guy off the road and have no consequence whatsoever.
Okay.
And even like times where it's like if I would like get into somebody's space a little bit, then they would back off. And it's like, okay, well, cool. So I just kind of like bump into you in a way that doesn't affect my handling too much, and I'm free to go ahead. So I don't know how that'll all play out. I do think though, despite that, I think that the AI feels a little bit more natural. Like you do see like a lot of cars that are sort of trying to vie to get ahead. They're not doing the Gran Turismo thing. It's like, okay, we're all in a little train now, and now you pass this guy, and now you pass this guy. And it's like, I had times it was like there's 3 cars wide, and like, I guess I'm just hanging back here for a minute. So
interesting.
And so it creates, I think that, I think it creates a little bit more dynamic situations to try to sort out.
I guess, Blood, just your overall thoughts on what you played. Are you feeling good about this?
Yeah, I mean, these games are always hard to totally nail down in like a quick.
So much going on. You have to spend a lot of time with these games to figure
dig
it out.
in and find all the nuances and stuff.
Yeah.
I've always found, basically until like the DualSense, I've always preferred the Xbox controller for these types of games. Mm-hmm. I do get a lot of good feedback in terms of like the audio positioning of the tire squealing and the feedback and the rumble and the triggers and everything. And so it's really solid. It's just one of those things where it's like to really see like how these systems play out and like what they're asking about. Like, do you need to grind a lot just to take a car into multiplayer, or like where the little nicks and tucks all kind of work in its favor or against its favor? It'll take time. But I think structurally, though, the way that they're working in the practice and the building and the cups, it feels like, they've totally like disassembled it all and built it back up from scratch rather than just remixing it, which I feel like the last 3 games felt kind of like remixes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sounds good. We'll find out more when it eventually comes out. I think it's later this year, right?
Yeah, I don't.
There's so many games.
Exact date, but it's not. It's like around the corner. Cool. Like I want to say November.
Cool.
November 10th.
Yeah,
or
we'll
something.
check it out. Woo. All right. Thank you, Blood. Okay, for the next game, I've been playing this for review. I have now finished the game. That is Lies of P.
Yo.
I have finished Lies of P. Intro. It's good.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It was cool. I was like, all right, sick. Lies of P was a good time, man.
Yeah, because like that. I mean, it's funny to laugh at, but it is kind of the fear with a lot of these games.
Yep.
So it's like you see this game from a developer that you're not so sure you know anything about, and it's kind of got like kind of just a twist on something familiar. It's kind of this ridiculous Pinocchio. What the?
Yeah, yes.
What are you, Pinocchio souls?
Yeah.
And then, and then it's like, okay, does it just look really pretty, or does it hold up in the end? Yeah.
Yeah, it holds up in the end. It's a really good game. Like with Souls, like I never expect anyone to be at From Software's level. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I think they do a really good job.
That's good to hear. No, I'm curious. Where did you stand? Did you play? You finished the demo.
I did.
And you talked about.
Yeah.
Where were your how do you feel your thoughts were after that compared to how you finished the game? Did
I feel better than what the demo. They changed some things, particularly the dodge they worked on a little more to make it feel a little better.
Dodge was getting called out.
So it feels a little better this time around, but we're gonna get into that because there's like a lot of like complexities, I guess, to some of the mechanics. So we'll just start broadly, though. It is a Souls game based off Pinocchio. You play as a puppet. I don't think they actually really call you Pinocchio to the game. Maybe they do at the beginning, but like they don't refer to Pinocchio very often. And it's not as Pinocchio story as I thought it would be.
All right.
It definitely, which is interesting as the game, is it definitely finds its own identity way more so. Instead of to me, it felt like, at first glance, I feel like this game was just going to be copying in a lot of ways. And like there is clear inspirations in this game, but I definitely, as I played more, it felt like they had their own vision in some regards. So I was very happy about that. But yeah, you play as Pinocchio or P, whatever. You go through, you playing in this, it's like 18, I forgot the exact term of what it is, but it's like in France and like maybe late 1900s or something like that, or sorry, early 1900s, but kind of steampunky though. You're in this city. Puppets are going rampaging right now, just killing everyone. So you awake as this puppet. The city robots are going through killing everyone. Everyone's pretty much dead. Most of the humans are dead.
Sounds like Mega Man X.
Kind of. Well, I'm going to tell you because it sounds like Bloodborne in some ways too, in the sense that there is these puppets rampaging right now. If you want to replace puppets with beasts, you can do that. And also there is a plague kind of spreading throughout the city, which is called Krot, which I really like the atmosphere in the game. I think the atmosphere is super good in this game. I was like just absorbing it a lot of the time. Like one thing I really like in video games that is just a weird thing is I really like paintings in video games, like on the walls and stuff, dude. You like Resident Evil games, bro? I'm scoping those all the time, dude. I'm checking those out. I'm scoping them out here all the time, too. Because it kind of has like that, it has a spooky vibe to it. You know, you're in these cities, there's dead bodies everywhere, there's puppets trying to kill you constantly. And it's got like that kind of like, not super gothic vibe, but it's got like, that 18th century kind of, like, reminds me of Victorian London,
Victorian?
almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost. Maybe not as quite extreme, but shades of it. But yeah, there's like cool things. There's like the circus going on, so you got like circus robots going around, stuff like that. You get to see different parts of the city. It's very From Software in the sense of like you go through parts of the world and you could see them where you've been as you like progress through the game, which is always really fun.
Nice.
You know, like, you're like up high, you're like, oh yeah, that's where like I started over there. So stuff like that. But let's talk about the combat. So there's a lot to say about the combat actually, but I'll just say basics as you got your skills, you know you're leveling up just like a From Software game. They're like dex, strength, but they're just called different things. At the beginning, you choose a weapon. There's like a more dex-focused one, strength, and a balanced one. I chose contrary to everything I always do, I always go strength build in these games. First time, always.
All right, so what'd you do?
I went dex this time. I don't know why.
All right.
But I picked like a rapier. And I was like, all right, cool, dude.
Sick.
It was fun, and all the weapons, you know, they got unique movesets and stuff like that. But what's cool about the weapons is, so they're divided into two things. It's the handle of the weapon and like the blade or like blunt end. So what this does is each of these individual things has their own. If you played Dark Souls 3, you might remember like weapon arts. Elden Ring has things like this too. Each of them has their own unique one.
Okay.
So it's like a charge. You have to build up a meter to unleash this kind of thing. And some of them are cheaper. Like, let's say the handle is 1 bar you need to do, but the blade is 3. So if you get the handle, if you use the handle, it'll do like a nice parry for you like that. But if you do the 3 for the blade, it'll do like a really fast dash attack. That's cool, but what's interesting about it is later on with weapons, you can combine these different parts together. So if you like this bonus you're getting from the handle, but you like the bonus you're getting from this blade, you could put them on together.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, it'll destroy the weapon though, or you can't. I guess you could put it back together, but it's like just something to keep in mind. And all the weapons have stats, so you want to keep that in mind too.
Okay.
And you can kind of like specialize certain parts of like the handle if you want to like focus more on dex instead of like strength. You can do stuff like that, but it requires materials for you to do that. So you can kind of have some freedom about what weapons you want to choose from. There's actually a lot of weapons too. I was surprised how many there was to mess around with. They're pretty cool. Like I had the rapier, then later I got like a big like curved greatsword like swung around. I got a spear that was like it looked like a broken like lamppost almost, like a sign hanging on the side.
That's cool.
It was really sick. So that was really fun. So in combat, you know, you got your basics, light attack, heavy attack, charge attack, all that stuff. But what's interesting about this game is it has like the rally mechanic from Bloodborne. So if you don't know what that is if you get hit, you can get some health back often. But it's only for you really on your blocks. If you block something, you're going to take some damage. Your weapon will absorb it depending on the type of weapon you have. But you'll be able to get some of that damage health back. But if you perfect guard an attack, you will take no damage. And it'll also do stagger damage to enemies. We got the stagger. However, the stagger meter is invisible.
Oh.
You cannot tell. It's hard to see when it's going to pop up.
Oh.
So this game really, really focuses on aggression. Like you can play defensively in some ways, but I feel like you just have to be aggressive no matter how you play. If you play defensively, you have to be aggressive at it also. Because when you're fighting bosses, yes, you can stab them and do damage, which will eventually break their stagger if you do a lot. But if you do perfect parries, it's going to help you break it also. But it comes with the risk of if you don't get that perfect one, you're going to get hit. And if you miss it, you can just get hit completely or you'll take a lot of damage. So it was definitely a balance of me figuring out at times when to dodge and when to go for perfect parries. Because some guys, they would do crazy attacks and I couldn't read it at first, you know, because I'd fight a boss and just be like, I don't know what's going on, so I'd just dodge everything. But then you slowly learn as you progress through that and you're like, okay, let me try to get this move and land it. And what's great about it is the impact feels really good for you as the player. Like hitting that feels like Sekiro, that perfect, you sparks fly and everything looks really nice, feels good. But it's definitely something you have to take into account. And also, when they're getting in their stagger state, when you know they're vulnerable for a stagger state, their health bar, you can see it, it'll like flash like white or like a white border will go around it.
Okay.
That means they're open to stagger. Now you have a limited amount of time to make them go into stagger. To do this, you have to land a charged attack. So you have to make sure you get that charge attack to then leave them vulnerable. Then you can do like a visceral attack kind of thing like that.
Okay.
So it's this progression of I'm fighting this guy, I'm trying to damage them and also break their stagger meter. Then I got to make sure I hit the thing when their health bar's up, when they're open, because when they're open for stagger, they could still move and attack and fight you and all that stuff. So sometimes like you won't get it. There's definitely times where I was fighting bosses where I was like, I had to back up because I was going to die if I got too aggressive. So also though, with the bosses and enemies, they can also get health back when you're fighting them. Oh. You could stab guys.
Oh, crap.
So you can do damage to them, but they will be able to get some back.
Right.
So you have to be careful. Like, you don't want to get hit, but like I said, perfect parrying, all that stuff helps. And if you're not aggressive on them and leave them be, their health will slowly regen over time.
Of course.
It's like, it seems like really brutal, but when you're kind of in practice, actually, it's like there's a slight pressure for it, but it's not like, it was never like too much pressure where I felt like I'm waiting way too long. Like, it was in the back of my mind, but it never felt too much, which was nice. So there's a hub in this game. It's called Hotel Krat. It's really jolly, dude. So you got human in the game. There's NPCs you can talk with also, and puppets. Not all the puppets are bad. Some of them, it's a mystery why they're going pretty nuts. It's all part of the story. But there's some you talk to. Some are vendors and stuff like that. There's some people you can talk to get more lore. There's different outfits you can get for P like that. They're not stats. The outfits are just purely costumes, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. You can get like masks and stuff like that. Also, here is P has like a prosthetic arm. Just think of Wolf's arm from Sekiro. It's very similar to that. One of the early ones you get is like a grappling one. You can shoot like a hook and like pull them towards you. But when you do it, uses a certain amount of like your currency or whatever, like your meter essentially. Okay. So you can get new arms like that. You can get one that was like one of the early ones, like electric things. So you like shoot out like a big electric pulse at them, which is really cool.
Nice.
Then later on, I got one that was like just a gun. I'd like shoot like a bullet and it would like explode on them, which was really fun. You can also upgrade those parts later on too to like increase the effectiveness of those. So like the gun one, for example, it used to take a little bit to shoot, but then later on I was able to dodge and shoot at the same time, so it just made it a little faster, or I could follow one up with it right away. At the hotel, you could also practice like on these dummies, which I actually did because enemies in the games have attacks. There are these red attacks that are undodgeable. You have to perfect block them. If you block them normally, you will take full damage. You have to perfect block them, or just get completely out of the way, but you can't like iframes through it like that. So I was just kind of practicing on that, getting the feel of parry timing and all that stuff, all the windows. So it's very useful, and you could test out damage things on there and also your weapon art kind of things on there if you want to experiment. It's very friendly in that sense, which I appreciated. But yeah, going through the game, there's a lot of cool bosses in here. Just some of like the early, like one of the very early first ones is like a ringmaster. He's in the demo.
Okay.
He has like most of the bosses in this game have like two phases. Either you get halfway through their health or they have a fake health. They have one health bar, then another one comes up, which they do that too many times in the game.
Oh, okay.
Or to the sense of if it didn't happen, I was more surprised. I expected every boss to have one health bar, then another one would happen every time like that. No online play, so you got to do it yourself. However, for some bosses, you could summon a specter who is like a soul summon, you know. He will fight with you. You get some items later on that will help with that also, so you can like heal him or like buff him up.
Oh, okay, cool.
To summon them, though, you need a currency, and it's like called star something, but so you need the star thing. You do it outside the boss room, then he'll be in there. I never came close to running out, though, my whole way through. I had like 60 by the end of the game, and you could farm more later on. So if you're worried about that, don't be too worried. But yeah, I think just going through this game just gave me a really cool vibe that I was just really into. I was really feeling. The story's pretty neat, actually, just like unraveling the secrets. It's going to be a lot of Bloodborne stuff in there. You're going to be like, oh, yes. If you're familiar with Bloodborne stuff, you'll be like, oh, yes, yes. It's clear they are fans of that game, but that's a good game to be a fan of, I guess, and like base a lot of stuff on. Also, Pinocchio, there is times in the game where you will have choices to lie to someone or not.
Okay.
They will ask you some questions, and you can lie if you want to or not, and that will change some of the story. I won't get into that, but that is just a part of the game also to keep in mind.
Got it. Did you ever lie to somebody and then turn into like a fight?
I don't think so, Blood. Okay. I lied to someone one time to make them feel better about something, but I don't think I lied to someone to fight them. You fight plenty of people though. Don't worry. There's plenty of like.
Yeah,
humans.
I was wondering if like you because somebody lied.
They
got
definitely
lied
like,
to, and then they
choices,
come back later and like, you lied to me, you little punk. Beat you up.
Blood. Someone might have asked me if I was a puppet, like a human, and I said yes, probably. Then they tried to kill me because they're like, there's this group out there trying to like kill all the puppets and all that stuff like that. Like they wear like I think they're called stalkers. They wear like animal masks. They look really cool. But yeah, some of the environments are really great. Going through the city, like these just cobbled streets, dude. It's all wet. You got like lights flickering. Then you go through it and there's like a circus tent, and like later on there's an opera house, and you're going through that. It's really awesome. Really cool boss in there. I really loved, but I don't want to spoil that because it's like later on in the game. But it's a pretty meaty game too. Like I said, it took me like 28 hours to beat.
All right.
To get through. There's multiple endings. There's New Game Plus stuff to do also. So there's a lot of value in this game. But yeah, I think it's a really good game. It like didn't blow me away. I was like, yeah, you know, like best Souls game in a long time. But it's like really good. I was like, yeah, this is a really great game, and I'm really pleased it turned out well. Do you dudes have any questions about it?
So one thing I think you didn't like talk about. So I'm curious if it's in the game.
Yeah.
Like the exploration factor, and in so many FromSoft games, how you come across unknown variables. I went this way. I don't know if I'm going the right way. Oh crap! There's like a boss over here. Like, were there any of those types of like random encounters that you get by going off in a different direction?
I would say the progression, in the sense of, like, let's say if you're comparing them as zones, the progression of going through the zones felt very linear to me.
Okay.
But within these zones, there was, like, some different routes to go to. You'll find some different stuff. There's shortcuts to unlock, stuff like that. There's some mini bosses out there like that, but I didn't find any huge, like, main side bosses just randomly. You know, I didn't walk into some random cave and find, like, a major boss.
Gotcha.
But there is some mini, like, bosses definitely you can find, in optional ones like that.
Okay. You talk about how like the weapon arts and the analogous weapon art system is in there. Were there any weapons you came across that had like a hidden property? Because it's one of like, you know, the things that is kind of appealing in some of the FromSoft games is like this weapon is like, what does this really do? And then like you like do its extended form or something, like it's L2 and it's like, whoa, now it's on fire.
Yeah, they're not like trick weapons. There's definitely weapons. So there's like, you know, your strength dex, and then there's like your magic stat, which pairs kind of better with some more like elemental based weapons. Like early on I got like a dagger that had like fire on it or something like that, because there are status things you can do. You can like burn people with fire like that. If you hit them enough, they'll start burning and stuff like that. Some puppets you can use electricity on, and they'll take like more damage from that, and there's like a poison one essentially like that too. So some weapons have properties like that, but there was nothing like where I felt like it was just this kind of like one very unique thing for this weapon only.
Okay. Did you talked about like the left right hand, like was there any other kind of gear system, like, you know, like outfits or appearance you can change?
You have like 4 defense things. There's like 4 slots for defense. They're like different mechanical parts for him. Like one almost looks like a washer when you get it at the start, but like stuff gets bulked up later on. There's like little mechanical parts. So there's 4 you can choose from. There's also you could start with 2 ring slots, or essentially ring slots. There's another system in the game called the P organ, which gives you passive upgrades you can go through.
The P organ.
Yeah, kind of think like a skill tree, but not, I guess. So it's like you start it, and there's like 4 things you can choose from. And to get the next tier, you have to do at least 2 of those things.
Got it, yeah.
And it goes out through there, but it gets complicated because within these things also you choose separate things for that. It's kind of confusing at first, but once you do it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
But is outward appearance, like besides like weapon changes, like physical appearance?
It's your costumes.
So
costumes are completely different outfits
cool.
for him.
I guess I know people like
you
really
could wear like one of the ones early on I got was like a coat. I killed this guy. He was in the demo. He's the donkey guy, and you get like a donkey hat or a donkey like mask you can wear and stuff like that.
Is there any kind of like weight restriction system? You know, okay, so that's present.
So yeah. There's different types of weight, and from what I understood is if you are heavier weights, stuff like your stamina regens slower. So I always kept it below. I kept it at the lowest weight always because I wanted that stamina regen. I think once you get to like 60% of like your weight limit or something like that, it'll start slowing down.
Okay.
But you can level up stats to like increase that also. So if you want to be able to hold heavier stuff, you can. Which I definitely did. Because, some weapons are heavier. Like, the rapier was pretty light, but when I was using the spears, it's a bigger two-handed thing, so you got to adjust for that. Definitely a lot of cool strength weapons, I think, for Huber. Or I thought about Huber, like a giant axe. I was like, oh, Huber would probably like this. Some cool stuff like that. But yeah, really fun game. I had a good time. I definitely want to play more of it, and I think it's worth... it's so hard because there's so many Souls-likes, and there's so many games coming out nowadays. But I think Lies of P is definitely worth making time for.
Yeah, one of the higher end ones, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Especially it's on Game Pass, too. It'll be on Game Pass day one, so if you're curious about it and you have it, easy to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good Game Pass game. Perfect for it. But yeah, I guess that's all I got for Lies of P. Cool game. Yeah. All right, dudes. Internet's freaking out right now. Everyone is clamoring for Nintendo Directs, because it's September and everyone's clamoring for State of Play or whatever because
there are not enough games out right now.
There's not enough games. Exactly, Damiani. We need more. It's never enough, my friends. So everyone's freaking out. I'm seeing F-Zero rumors going on. I'm like, what is happening right now?
October, November's stacked. It's all right, but what's after November? What do we get next year?
We are literally drowning in video games. Yeah. We cannot play everything like that. But it's it's always exciting to look forward to, especially Damiani because of... And Blood, obviously, because of the new Nintendo hardware, could be hearing about sooner than later. I don't know, what do you guys think about all this? We got some thoughts from patrons just writing in about what they want to see from all this kind of stuff. What are you guys expecting? What do you want to see? When do you think this is even happening, if they are?
I still think it's too early for Nintendo for new hardware to be talked about just yet. I do think it's a little too soon.
I have a question. Yeah. With Switch, did they do something completely standalone?
So, sorry, finish your thing.
No. Did they do it? I cannot remember if it was at a direct Damiani or if it was just completely separate event.
In October 2016, they did the first Switch unveil.
Okay,
it was on the plane. Someone had it. We're like, that's it. That's the system. We saw a tiny bit of footage of Mario Odyssey. We didn't know what it was called at the time, I think. Mm-hmm. And then in January of 2017, we got the Switch presentation. It had its own presentation just for Switch. And we got all the information about that, the launch, and it came out 2 months later. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll follow a similar kind of structure. Discussing with some other people, the concept of the October teaser event felt like maybe there was a little bit more pressure on Nintendo to say something sooner because of the status of the Wii U not doing as well.
Yeah.
Whereas
they had the NX been out. They had soft announced it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where this is something where they're in a better position,
Much
and I
better.
think they want to just have the unveiling, all the information, pre-orders open. It's coming out within a few months. So I think even if it's coming out in the first half of next year, which I don't think, I think it's next.
You think it's
second half?
end?
I think it's gonna be fall probably. But if it comes out in the first half, I still think that a February-March type event would still happen for Switch. We might even do a January thing again. They might even repeat history. But this direct that people keep saying is going to happen because September has been pretty much clockwork for Nintendo with some kind of direct or some kind of video presentation. And we know the release is pretty much through the end of the year, but we're still going to need a few more games to have. And there's been rumors of a bunch of different games. So I think it'll be not a megaton direct, but something that's a little bit has some good updates in there. Things we've been wanting to see, maybe a few surprises, but no huge announcements out of left field.
Let me throw a little chaos into that though. Mm-hmm. So there's the reports last week of people seeing the next essentially successor at Gamescom.
Oh yeah,
behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that's a sign though that it might be sooner than early next year showing it off?
I think that's convincing people. That's getting more people on board. The report before that said that key partners already have the dev units in hand, which you have to imagine are the big third party, Square Enix,
Capcom.
stuff like that. So this is maybe they're trying to convince some other developers to get on board. I also imagine since they're listed as actually participated in TGS, which is next week, that they're going to be doing more of that as well. Some behind closed doors kind of presentations to other developers just to be, or maybe some like progress reports with them to discuss like where are you on your projects, and, here's like an update on our timetables. But I still think that's like these are like, the planning phases to get like their launch window sorted out. They want to know what's going to be available in the first like month, 3 months, 6 months to a year. I think Nintendo's just figuring it out, figuring out with their third parties, getting any more support, like getting feedback, like these dev kits. Do they need any like extra help with them? Like what do people want from them, or any like new features? So this is just behind the scenes stuff. I don't think this is going to translate to public facing the consumer. We're getting a announcement about anything just yet. Now, as Blood did point out, like we knew about NX long time in advance. I think they could maybe just say like the
code name,
either like we would like to announce that like the next Switch system is like in full development, and we were looking forward to sharing more details with you in the future. That's the best I can hope for, and I still don't think they would do that considering how successful they are right now.
Yeah,
I think it's better just to like throw all your chips on the table when it's time.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they'll probably similarly do a tiered announcement towards like, okay, let you digest a bit of the hardware first and then get into the games later. But I don't think that they're gonna like cannibalize their last big Switch Christmas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like there's like with the Wii U, like Damiani was saying, like you needed anything to get people excited about Nintendo. You needed to show something. And like, yeah, right now they did the Mario Kart bundle and these these other the Switch Lite bundles and stuff that are coming out. So they're all about trying to get the last hurrah on Switch sales.
Yeah.
And I think that next year, we'll probably see something kind of more towards the spring or middle of the year.
Yeah.
So that we get those early adopters out of the way, and they can basically like be fairly stocked when it comes time for the 2024 holiday rush.
Yeah, because they still have Mario coming out, and they still have Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
And do they have anything else? I can't think off the top of my head.
I mean, they have Detective Pikachu as well in October too.
Okay.
We don't really have we have the Pokemon DLC.
That's probably big,
but we don't have no new mainline Pokemon.
Not this
finally. For taking a little bit of a break.
Let it cook, dude.
And we've got the Untitled Princess Peach game next year.
Oh yeah.
We've got the Luigi's Mansion port.
Yep.
And then what's that?
And technically still Metroid Prime 4.
I was going to ask about that, Blood. Do you think this will? Are they going to show it at this direct, or do you feel like this Metroid game now at the point is going to be just on the next system?
Yeah, I could see this thing going either way. Yeah, it could be a cross-gen game. It definitely would be, like the rumors are talking about the DLSS and ray tracing and stuff like that. So it could...
that ray tracing on a Nintendo console is insanity to me. I cannot comprehend that.
The Metroid Prime series is such a good showcase for that kind of new technology.
Oh yeah.
That it would be a shoe-in, but it's also like, again, it's been in development for so long behind closed doors. It's hard to say. But I do think there have been these rumors that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 could come out similar to Metroid Prime Remastered. There's talk like those may be more of a port than a full on like re-engineering of those games like the first game. But yeah, I could see those just dropping during a direct, like the first one.
I've given up on Twilight Princess and Wind Waker.
This is where I was going to say, this might be the time for them to drop in. Like,
if it's
this is like the cleanup crew of like, let's get a bunch of like last minute ports in here to like, get the system to the finish line to the announcement of the Switch 2. I mean, they're good through November. December is usually like a month, like you don't historically have like the biggest releases usually come out in December. So I think it's okay. They don't have anything that strong, like a new full game release coming out in December. Yeah. I do think they need a few things sprinkled in next year, because I'm sort of with Blood, where I think a Switch successor announcement is probably happening after the start of, for me, I think it's going to happen after the start of the next fiscal year. So after April 1st or later, I think it's going to happen. So I think you need something in the first 3 months, like 1 or 2 games there, and you probably need 1 or 2 games in the second quarter. And then I think third quarter onwards, like whenever it's coming out, you can have a bit of a lull there because like people are getting excited for the new thing. So I do think ports fit nicely there because I don't think you want to burn. Metroid Prime 4, I think, will be cross-gen for sure. I think it can't just be standalone on the new system because, like, unfortunately, Metroid is not a system seller.
No.
It is a very strong, critically received series. It is a very good performing series, but it's very clear that a new Mario Kart or a new 3D Mario is being poised for the launch game for the Switch successor.
Yeah, Mario Kart Tours is
winding down.
wrapping up.
Exactly.
So,
it's like there's signs that Mario Kart.
It's
next Mario Kart is probably the launch title or the big launch title.
As well, yeah, we'll see that last pack. We'll see the last Mario Kart pack.
Yep. So that'll probably be there for sure.
Yeah. We're still waiting on some Splatoon 3 DLC.
The story one too. We haven't heard anything about that.
And then, what do you think? Do you think Pikmin 4 could have DLC? That feels like a prime game that like has done super well.
Yeah, I think they could have like some update for that as well. That could definitely fit in there too.
Like it may not be like huge, but
just some kind of like add or new mode or add on or something like that. I could definitely see that happening. Obviously, they said we're not getting Zelda DLC, so that's like off the table at least for this. But yeah, ports. Like I do think maybe some kind of like Zelda will be here, just not like. But it's either gonna be a port or like a
Prezzo style one,
something like that. I could see that happening. I'd love to see like an F-Zero port, like GX port would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I mean,
dude.
I'm open. Like at this point, this is where you do them. We're like, it feels like we're entering the last year of like the Switch being the primary, the flagship console for Nintendo, and it's like just start throwing that out there. So I take an F-Zero GX like port, 60 frames, or like preserve that 60 frames, get it updated with visuals. I take the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports. I mean, I take give me, take Star Fox Zero and port it to Switch as well and get rid of the, I don't know, Miyamoto might say that's a little too far. Miyamoto be like, that's a little too much of an insult. We can't do that.
They could maybe do Xenoblade
X
maybe.
has been
Star
tossed
Fox
around.
Zero works, but it only works if you have 2 Switches. it becomes a de facto multiplayer game.
We changed the mode so if you have a 2-player mode, someone controls the cockpit while you control the flying. But yeah, actually Assault, not Assault, what was the No, Assault is right. Yeah,
it's Assault.
So I keep getting Command and Assault mixed up. Maybe I talked about Assault incorrectly earlier at something.
It's fine.
I was talking about alternate endings, the crazy one where they did that, but that was
Yeah.
Star Fox Command, which is for DS. Sorry, but Assault could be one too. I didn't think it was that great, but anything's just.
Not, but yeah, Bandai Namco did that one.
Yeah, I saw the rumors were saying possibly Final Fantasy 7 remake on it also.
Well, that was
awesome.
You mean for Switch 2?
Yes,
for Switch 2.
Oh yeah, the two. What was the two rumors that like they got that running on there just to show it?
Yeah, and
then,
Breath of the Wild was running on it.
That and then the Matrix
Unreal
5 demo
Yeah.
just to show that was running as well.
Dude, if they did new versions of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, that'd be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm.
Seems maybe a little.
I don't want to
early.
get my hopes up too much, but I would really like a
blow it with Nintendo?
$10
Never.
upgrade.
Keep dreaming, dude. They're gonna be $60 a pop, blood.
You'll get yeah.
Or 70, maybe we're
It's either gonna be you need to buy into the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service where they're like we'll let you here's your upgrades. You can get your upgrade to this version if you own this version if you're already a paying member of this, and it's the digital only, won't be physical, or it'll be you have to I think for physical it's gonna be you have to buy a brand new copy.
Yeah.
And digital there might be an option maybe, but I don't think it's gonna be $10. I think they're gonna make you pay a minimum $20.
Okay, maybe.
Because everything, and just be ready for it. Everything on Switch 2 first party is going to be $70.
Yep.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, that I'm not surprised by. But
absolutely.
they've done a little upgrade pass before.
Yeah.
Maybe they will. Maybe we're wrong. Sorry, I'm wrong.
They did that with Virtual Console stuff from Wii to Wii U, and they also there's just the precedent of this last gen with both Xbox and PlayStation offering these upgrade paths. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but I think that Doesn't necessarily mean Nintendo will follow because they don't, but there's plenty of room for Nintendo to do an upgrade path if it's just going to be 60 frames per second and higher resolution.
I do. There won't be at this direct, obviously, because it'd probably be saved for the future. But I think of third-party announcements as well. I'm not sure what big third-party games that haven't been announced already that are coming over. Because I think even Persona 3 Reload is not coming to OG Switch, but Tactica is coming in November. But we'll probably get a few more of those third-party support for this. One thing just to point out real quick for Switch 2 is I do think there'll be way more third-party support out of the gate.
Oh my god, yeah.
This time around, especially once they see the announcement, as long as it's nothing too outlandish. It's just it's pretty as expected what industry experts are expecting the Switch 2 to deliver on.
Call of Duty.
I was going to say, Call of Duty. You think it'll be there that same year?
I think there'll be a Call of Duty on there. I do think they'll try and get GTA 6 running on that thing in some capacity because that's a lot of money to leave on the table.
I still won't be surprised if GTA 6 is a PS4 Xbox One game.
Hey, they got
so much money.
That's true, Blake.
But yeah, I'm expecting a lot of those big third parties to announce that, and I think that might also be a good time for Capcom that Monster Hunter World sequel that we all expecting.
That's true.
Saving it for when Switch 2 is finally known, so they can be it's coming all these platforms and Switch.
Maybe some real cross progression this time.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, Capcom. That would be nice.
That'd be sweet.
Also, we're gonna get a slew of games that didn't make it to Switch in the last year or so that will probably get their Switch 2 versions. So
Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4 will probably come out on Switch 2. Everything that was a big seller this year that didn't come out on Switch will probably be ported to
Get
Switch
a second
2.
chance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Switch editions.
Sigma wrote in about Nintendo Direct. Nintendo Direct prediction. I'm not sure I believe a regular Direct will air, but if one gets announced, nothing substantial will be shown. There will be updates on announced games and a few new third-party announcements. Personally, I would like Donkey Kong 94, the Game Boy version, to be added to Nintendo Online since I need to resort to my 3DS or emulator to play it. I love going through it every year. For a third-party announcement, I would love a re-release of Beyond Good and Evil. The game's story gets me and the gameplay complements the story well. If neither of these two games get presented, I would like a bold new franchise and an underdeveloped genre like virtual board games. Keep being great allies. Okay.
Yeah, they're under the impression that they think it's not going to happen. So, which is fair.
Very fair.
This is not. Yeah,
this is not. confirmed.
We are recording on Tuesday. The rumors all said it was this week, and it's they usually announce this type of direct a day before because it's not we can already tell it's not a massive direct because those they give a little bit more a 2-3 day heads up. So I think if it's not announced by tomorrow, Wednesday, it's probably not happening this week. I mean, it could still happen this month. Maybe they're just people got the month wrong or the week wrong. But I think there might be something. But they did do the Super Mario Brothers Wonder Direct last month.
Right,
that's their big release. I still think they want to talk a little bit more about Super Mario RPG I guess is pretty much a known quantity, so I don't know if they really need to talk about that anymore. Right. But I still think there's a good chance there's something happening.
The Treehouse Live as well.
Oh yeah, they just did Nintendo Live, a Treehouse Live, so maybe it could be
maybe next month.
They could just be hey, we did all this stuff already. We that's something different. We haven't done that before. That's why there is no direct this month. So
that's true.
That could be true. I wouldn't be that shocked. I mean, I kind of hope there is one, just because I like seeing more updates. They did mention more games being added to the online services, and one thing I will definitely say is I feel like that Game Boy catalog, they need to speed that up. There's so many Game Boy games. So many great Game Boy games. I understand some are covered by collections, so they're probably not going to be on there, but there's still so many games that I feel like they could be adding to that, and it feels like that one would be the one they'd be adding more frequently. I was expecting maybe at least one a month, and I don't know. It feels a little bit slow. I mean, we have been getting one a month or more than one a month, but I don't know. Quest for Camelot was a weird grab, so maybe not the one I was expecting. game, but hey, it's an oddball one. I mean, there's plenty of those. You know, keep releasing those. I want to keep those going.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from Nintendo to Sony specifically.
Oh yeah.
So they had a state of play in June.
Yeah.
Some decent stuff in there, but not a lot of what people were wanting.
Was that state of play or PlayStation Showcase?
That was a showcase. You're right. That was a showcase.
Sorry, their thing.
You were right. That was correct.
Yeah.
So the rumor is Bloodworth that it's very like Asian focused, like Japanese, Korean, and Chinese too.
Yeah. They're definitely in with a lot of that stuff. Keeping an eye on
because we got
what's happening.
Rise of the Ronin on the back burner.
Yeah.
We got Stella Blade on the back burner.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, and they were publishing those games.
Well, they did make some updates.
They did do an update on it, yes.
Yeah.
But nothing like crazy substantial.
No media like updates,
No.
just like they're updating their site
Yes.
and like it looks like maybe they're prepping for something. But yeah, sorry, what you were saying.
Well, I think probably a fair time for Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, if it's early next year still,
I think it's probably one of their bigger ones. I think maybe Dragon's Dogma could be in there.
Ooh, Bloodworth.
Yeah.
I mean, we did see it at the last one, right? Yeah, we did.
Well, was it that or Capcom had their own thing, right? I don't remember.
Capcom's was like nothing, if I remember.
Got it.
It was like the same trailer or something like that.
Right.
It was disappointing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll see Spider-Man if they have it soon.
Yeah,
I feel like we'll see it one more
they'll
time.
probably still stick a little bit
One
of
more
that in
time.
there.
Will we see that new PlayStation hardware?
Will we see? Oh,
That new PlayStation 5 model?
Oh, the Pro. Or
No, not the Pro.
which one's this one?
It's like the equivalent. It's like just like a new version of it. Maybe like the equivalent of a Slim.
Gotcha.
The rumor is there will be no disk drive on it. It'll be separate.
right.
You do it separately.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a while ago. I don't know if that thing is still.
So, and there was like those shots
bouncing
of
around.
it in the wild. Pretty much, someone leaked it, kind of thing. It looks a little smaller. Mm-hmm. I mean, it still looks pretty big, but it looks smaller.
yeah,
to me,
but that
definitely.
thing was an empty case.
Yeah.
Even, so I don't know how realistic
And
that thing
like
is.
the Spider-Man PlayStation 5s are already out in the wild now.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about that. Especially with the Project Portal or PlayStation Portal.
Yeah, portable.
Also.
Portal, yeah.
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 That being announced and having like that coming. So I don't know if like another piece of hardware announcement.
No, well, I don't think. What they need to do is show more PSVR 2 stuff.
Yeah.
They've kind of lost a lot of like the mind share on that right now.
Yeah, there've been
Not a
games
lot of
coming
people
out
think-
here and there, but like,
Yeah, not a lot of people are thinking
talking
about it.
I think
yeah.
that's we do a weird move to be moving on to like more hardware when like you need more support for that. Like Portal is already a niche thing. It's not like brand new system. It's like a complement to the hardware,
It
which is
took
like
me, forever to figure out what the heck you were talking about. The
handheld blood.
oh, this PlayStation
PSP,
Portable 2.
yeah.
The PSP.
I mean,
PSP.
but it's not standalone. You can't. You need to connect. Yeah.
You need stuff for that.
But yeah, like having some good games to showcase on PlayStation VR 2 to show that there's
Mm-hmm.
still things in the works that are coming because. Yeah, that it needs that support. I mean, it's not something that I'm personally interested in, but it seems a little weird if they were just like slow down on that so suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like such a big initiative for them. The fact
I
that they
still think it's similar to like the premium controllers though. Like they're going for the niche market that's going to want that, and I don't know that they need to spend a lot of time in any kind of direct when they can just put it on PlayStation Blog.
Yeah, people will just buy it.
well, what about like Resident Evil 4 VR though?
Yeah, we know it's
Oh
coming.
yeah, no, that
Like showing
that
more
I think
of-
that,
yeah,
I
they
think
could
that,
show
like,
more.
we have like an update
Like they could have
updated
updated if there's going to be Resident Evil 4 DLC, they could show it there.
Yeah.
Oh, heck
I have
yeah.
several things I can think of. Like one is this is not a Japanese studio as far as I'm aware, or Asian one is Little Devil Inside. That game
That's
has just
been
that game has just
disappeared.
gone dark for a long time. So I'm like, what the hell's happening with that game right now? Where's Dragon Quest 12? What's going on with that? Do you think they're going to do something separate for that, Blood?
That won't be that's not having a state of play. That'll be a Japanese only thing that we
In Japanese only.
that we see off of some screen somewhere.
no,
Yeah.
it'll be like at a Dragon Quest like event. I think they'll do it like because when they did the anniversary event where they announced just the title. Mm-hmm. I think they'll have like a showcase. I think they'll do a Dragon Quest like direct.
There's no reason. It's still such a small franchise in the West. There's no reason for them to show it in a state of play before they've really dug into it in Japan. I think one thing I could be interested in, even though Epic's publishing it, Sony could still partner, is Ueda's working on.
Yeah, definitely. We need to see that game, what that game actually is.
I think, that they are probably rightly gun-shy about showing it too early.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be on Unreal, I assume?
Oh, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely.
I realized also Dragon Quest 12, they can't show it off till Switch 2 is probably announced, because that thing is 100% coming to Switch.
It's going to be on Switch 2.
Yeah,
100%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the lead platform.
So probably got to wait for that too.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I really want to see what, I think their name is Team Asobi, which is the Astrobot people.
Yeah.
What their game is. We know they're doing something.
They probably are doing a PSVR 2.
Yeah, hopefully.
Game.
Or even just like a port of Astrobot would be nice, at least on PSVR 2.
Well, yeah, you could get a 2-for-1 on that, because they could port it and have a sequel, which would be necessary. Like, one of the best PSVR games should be playable.
Oh my God, yeah, that game
on the
was
PSVR
so good.
2.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we mentioned Monster Hunter earlier.
Yeah, Monster Hunter feels like it
could very well show up.
The rumblings are feeling like it's showing up. If it'll just be World 2 or something different.
Yeah, it's been a long time since World's gotten like significant updates and Rise as well.
Unless Jeff locked that down.
Yeah,
Jeff could lock some stuff down. I feel like Jeff would lock down From Software stuff.
But that's what's a little strange to me, right? Because doesn't
Sony has a
Sony State of Play tend to be close to Game Awards?
That I don't know, Bloodworth.
Or I guess they used to do PSX right around.
Yes,
time.
they did that. But the only reason we're thinking of it now is because they're not at TGS. And they haven't been for a long time, so maybe. Mm-hmm. And they have done them in September in the past. So maybe. I don't know. Zach Wojnar wrote in, State of Play predictions. New and improved PS2 emulator on PS5, please. If we're paying $160 a year, we should be getting top-of-the-line emulation.
Yeah.
For me, the PS1 and PSP emulation on PS5 is decently good enough, so keep it up. But the PS2 emulation introduced PS4 is sorely lacking.
Interesting. You think that comes down to the emulator itself, or just rushing the ports themselves?
Yeah.
Because I know, like, the Switch had those issues with N64 games where they had to go back and patch out
That's true.
weird, dumb stuff.
That's true, yeah. That was, not good. I remember Zelda suffered from that.
Yep. That water temple.
Brandon K. Gain wrote in also, hello, everyone. In regards to the rumored direct State of Play, do you think these rumors are getting more attention than normal because we're in September, which has been the month in recent years we've had these streams, or because the most recent direct/PlayStation Showcase were not met with overly positively from most fans? Personally, I never believe such rumors until such confirmation they're coming, but I'm always up for new streams from the major publishers. Thanks for taking submission. If you do, stay easy, fellow allies. So Brandon Kigan is just kind of like not taking the bait until it's officially announced.
Like
I think that's really smart.
There's always a rumor.
It is very
and
smart.
it's a really smart
Very
thing
smart.
usually.
And especially like they're saying, like September's had so many of them, and it's just so easy to say one's coming.
Yeah.
Without anything to back it up, because it's just sort of a pattern.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
It's exciting time for video games. Lots of great stuff to play, and lots of juicy news coming down the pipeline, probably sooner than later.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you know what they could show at State of Play if they do it is Elden Ring DLC. If they're ready to show that.
That one Jeff's got locked down.
Maybe. Blood.
That's Game Awards. That's Game Awards.
Well, here's the thing, Blood. I think Jeff will get one thing, but From Software's doing multiple things.
Right.
And whatever From Software's next game is, maybe Jeff will get that, and Sony will get Elden Ring DLC. I don't know. I feel like From Software will show the wealth in that sense.
Maybe.
Because they've been at Microsoft before with Elden Ring and stuff like
Right.
that. So, I don't know. Just more From Software stuff, please. Yeah. Well, we just got Armored Core, but I still want
Could also
more.
get a double whammy.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
That's true.
Right on
Blood.
top of each other.
That's true. We didn't talk about this, or I didn't talk about this with you guys. You guys did talk about this, I believe, in the podcast. That 16 DLC is announced. Two of them.
Yeah.
Too early to show anything, you
Absolutely
think?
too early.
Okay.
Because they're announcing they were starting
even
to
want
work on
mess
them.
with that stuff before.
Yeah, that wasn't pre-planned. And
Well, how long do you think this is going to take then?
I think they're not coming out till like next. First one's
Yeah,
probably not
this
coming
is
out
like
till
next
sometime
summer.
next year.
Okay.
They might have them planned to be like a two-parter. We don't know what it is yet, right? But So it could be as like 2 pieces of DLC, but they're like 2 months, 3 months apart.
I think it's summer next year for DLC 1 and PC version would be my best guess. That kind of follows the slightly the same path as Final Fantasy 7 Remake with Intermission and Intergrade when they came out like a year later in the summer.
It did.
Yeah.
But this is going to have 2 DLCs, though.
Yeah, I think DLC 2 will probably be either the... So here's the thing. I said summer now. Now I'm rethinking it because it can't... it's not going to launch anywhere near the 14 expansion Dawn Trail. So whatever month that is, it's at least 1 month before or 1 month after, minimum 4 weeks after that, because they know there's a lot of crossover there. So let's assume maybe June for the Dawn Trail. I'm thinking like maybe like August for part 1 and PC version, and then maybe December for part 2 or second DLC.
Okay.
December, January, possibly.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
Sounds plausible to me. All right, it's time for Sorted Out. Sorted Out is just a segment we talk about something that's annoying us in the game industry, game, company, whatever it may be. This one's, I got one, Bloodworth, so I don't have the full context for it, though, so maybe you can explain more of it to me. The Unity engine stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, I have not wrapped my head around it, but yeah.
So from what I've seen, is just what I've seen. I don't know the full picture, but what I've seen is like charging you to like for reinstalling and stuff like that.
Not charging the player, but the companies that are using Unity having to pay a fee.
That is insane.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
That is
make
absolutely
any sense to me.
insane.
But like I said, I haven't read through it all and wrapped my head around the whole thing. But it sounds like a nightmare. Like Aggro Crab just put up a thing and like, if we're on Game Pass, then all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of bills to pay, because it is also like it's above a certain threshold, right? So you don't have to pay this fee unless you're over however many hundreds of thousands in units or whatever. But it's.
Do you think Epic Games right now is just
Unreal
clapping?
Yeah, because Unreal does a lot of things like that too. Where it's like you can use it again, like under certain thresholds, you can use it for so much. Yeah, but yeah, the reaction has been catastrophic. So I can't imagine what would justify it. Definitely will be interested to seeing like somebody that like Rebecca Valentine or somebody to actually like get a digest of like what all the different developers are saying about the problems that it's going to raise. But the biggest thing I've seen is it's just like if you're 3 months into a 5-year project, you're just kind of screwed because you're not going to change engines right now.
God, that sucks.
And you haven't budgeted for this. And you're just hoping for your game to sell. And now if it does sell, you've got to deal with this other just huge, massive drain on your funding for your next game.
Yeah. It's depressing. Damiani, do you have anything off the top of your head?
Sorted Out, pay the voice actors. I know they're like voting whether or not they are going to strike for video games. Yeah. So SAG-AFTRA might actually decide to vote to strike against video games, which would affect that. The sad reality, though, I think, is like video game companies can completely go non-union and stuff because it's been something that's going on. But this is something I think that needs to happen, and I think when people start to see, as long as the voice actors, they stand together, it's like, wait, where are my favorite voice actors? They're not like in current projects. We've already maybe announced people are going to be returning as those characters. Like, well, maybe they're not returning. So what do we do now? And the marketing, voice actors do provide a good part of the marketing when they're doing their public appearances, going to conventions.
Look at the 16 people
having
all over the place.
Having them come to do interviews with us and other outlets and doing all this fun stuff. You now lose that because they will not be doing that for you anymore. So hopefully, that gets resolved sooner, that, maybe video game companies have more rational heads on those executive shoulders than the movie industry, which seems to be completely like, nah, we're gonna keep going and like bleed them dry till like they come crawling back to us. It's like, no.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right, Parasite Paladin wrote in, sort it out, Sony. Add more PlayStation 1 classics to PS5, the old good ones.
Oh, yeah.
But keep it up, Sony, if you purchase the PlayStation 1 classic back on PS3, and if that same game is released on PS5, you do not have to buy it again and can download it whenever you want. That's pretty sick, actually.
I still haven't checked if any of the ones I bought are available.
Oh, yeah.
I need to see.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Garrett Hulfish wrote in, sort it out, Nintendo. Allow more customizable controls.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
right.
had it right with Super Metroid having fully remappable controls in 1994. What happened? Now your games have the most minimal control customizations. I'm tired of using my index finger to hold the sprint button in Zelda, just so I can go right into a jump when I need to. Sort it out. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I wonder, I'm curious what the development reasons for that are, because, like you said, you have some games fully customizable, do
That's a
anything.
good question, Blood. Yeah, I wonder.
Forza, like you go into the advanced control settings and like you have like all of these little gradients of dead zones and things that you can change on the sticks.
That's cool.
And they have the blind assistance modes and stuff like that. But then like even like Final Fantasy 16, right? Like they added additional control options.
Yeah, but
they still don't let you like remap it to be whatever you want.
You have to wait for the PC version at this point.
Right.
It's kind of weird. So weird.
So I understand like there's obviously some creators' intent behind those choices, but yeah, what are the other barriers that, is there a testing barrier? It's like, is it somehow like taking something from the A button from the trigger mean that all of a sudden now you've introduced a bug that they don't want to have to deal with? I don't know.
All right. Time for Keep It Up, the exact opposite. Something we're pleased with. I got one right away. Final Fantasy 16 DLC. 2 parts. Hell yeah, dude. I saw some people complaining, including my friend Dustin Furman. Shame on you, complaining about this. Like, not being excited. It's like, what are you talking about? There's so much more they could explore in this world. It doesn't have to be post-game or anything like that. Just juicy extra content, get them play as other characters or something would be awesome. Imagine playing as, like, Sid or something, or Jill. It would be so cool, man. Yes. Keep it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, Super Nintendo World. Yeah, keep that up.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, because I walked over into the Hogsmeade or whatever, like right at the end of the day, and like I have no affinity to Harry Potter or whatever, but like just walking in there is like, dude, this reminds me of like Final Fantasy VI. We need a Final Fantasy freaking land
yeah, we
somewhere.
We do.
Right.
I want to be
Well, Blood. You can go to Japan and go to the Final Fantasy cafes and get them immersed there.
All right, a cafe, but I mean, it's not the same thing.
The food and drinks.
Because here's the thing, Damiani, this is the reason why I came up. Because from looking outside of that section of the park,
I know.
And same thing with Super Nintendo World, right? Looking outside of that section of the park, it was like, all right, well, it's cheesy, fake snow, whatever. But then, like, as soon as I got in, where I was like complete peripheral vision, like it just like snapped something, So it was like, oh, this feels cool to be here all of a sudden, looking up at the castle and all of that.
Definitely. Yeah. Absolutely does. Yeah, man, Universal in Japan has like a One Piece thing, dude. I'm like, God! So mad about all that stuff. Damiani, you gotta keep it up.
I was going to also tell you, but they rotated it out, but they had an Advent Children, or Final Fantasy VII ride.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. I remember that.
Man, that's so cool. I wish we had something like that.
It was probably like unofficial whatever, but didn't like China have like a World of Warcraft theme park basically?
Probably.
Or it was like World of Warcraft, but not really, but yes, really.
Yeah. I think they have a new game coming out like that actually now, because you can't play Blizzard games in China anymore. How much money did you guys spend in Nintendo World? Did you buy a lot of merch?
Well, no, I like had a specific like limit. So I bought the armband.
How much was the armband?
$40.
$40.
I was like
$40 for a flat amiibo.
Up to the moment I put my credit card down to swipe or whatever, I was still like, maybe I don't do this. But I was like, this is the point. I'm here. Like, I need I mean, people were able to enjoy without it, but like the app with all the tracking and stuff,
it feels necessary.
I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I was like,
which one did you guys get?
I got Mario.
I got Yoshi.
Cool. Great ones. They have Mario, Yoshi, Toad, Luigi, Peach,
Yep.
And Daisy.
and Daisy. Wow. They're really putting Daisy front and center nowadays.
Yeah.
No
yes,
Mario,
that was
though.
it's totally cool. I didn't spend most of my money was like food.
Yeah, that was it.
You didn't get any merch?
No merch.
I really like.
Yeah.
Huber got the Toad, the Chef Toad.
What? What's Chef Toad?
So the
in the
cafe,
cafe,
there's a
yeah.
whole Chef Toad thing going on
Okay.
while you're eating or whatever. We didn't go to the cafe, but a couple patrons did. But in the merch store, they have like a little figurine.
Oh.
And Huber's fell in love with it without even knowing that's what
It's
it was
because
from.
it's cooking, dude.
But I looked around and there's cool stuff, but there's nothing that was like, oh, I gotta have it.
Sure.
And so like all I got was just like one of those little bullet bill candy dispensers.
Oh, that's cool, though, at least. Dawn has a sick shirt from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it
Yeah.
in the Boo shirt.
Yeah, it's a
that
good
was
shirt.
Pretty cool.
And then my wife not quite collects, but gets these, like we've got several of these like kind of touristy Starbucks mugs from different cities and stuff, and they have one that's specific to Universal.
Oh, cool. Yeah. They have those like Disney.
So I
ones,
texted
too.
her like, is there anything you want? He was like, get one of those mugs. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, nice.
Found
That's
that.
awesome. I'm glad you guys had a good time. All right, this is from Kenneth Childs. Keep it up. I just finished The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie.
Heck yeah.
And it's the first game of the series that I've played on PC since Durante's porting studio, PH3 Games, started doing the ports. Man, this is a good port. Not only does it have all the graphics control options that you should expect from a PC game, it's got some great added features. My favorite is the ability to launch the game into your most recent save. You don't have to go through the logo screens, opening movies, or menus. You just launch the game and you're immediately back where you left off. Keep it up, PH3 Games. That's pretty cool. Just
Yeah.
launch immediately into the game.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, we got some shout-outs, as always, to some of our most generous patrons over there on patreon.com/easyas. There in the Platinum Producer tier, we got Jabbawabs, Elthanas, Greg TheDarkKnight Kettering, and Garrett Hulfish. Shout out, everybody. Thank
Shout
you
out.
for
Shout
supporting us. We appreciate it. All right, dude. You gotta tell me, man, what is going on with this
I see
game?
Brad over there clasping his hands together.
You gotta tell me.
What's Brad? Brad brought something else. What did Brad talking? Oh yeah, I was like, ooh, what did Brad got?
Oh, man. You
yeah,
gotta tell me,
he's like getting giddy with the satisfaction of knowing my pain and suffering of playing through Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
That's right.
For mobile phones, for iOS and Android devices. Let's start off with like what this is.
Yeah.
So it is a mobile gotcha / like grindy game that focuses on 3 chapters of the Final Fantasy VII universe. The core game, Final Fantasy VII,
First Soldier?
First Soldier, and Crisis Core. I couldn't remember Crisis Core. Sorry. Those are the 3 that are currently in there. It sounds like eventually they'll be adding more because it's supposed to cover like the entirety.
When they get to Dirge servers,
yeah, like Dirge,
man.
Advent Children. Who knows what else is going to be in there?
I think they're gonna put in. I think it's called the first phone game. Maybe it's Ever Crisis.
There's Before Crisis.
Oh, Before
There's
Crisis.
Yeah, this
Ever
is Ever
Crisis.
Crisis.
One of them's like, yeah. There's like the anime, then there's
the one
that
with
other
the
mobile
like
game.
Turks or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
that's the one I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Whatever the
I'm
hell it's
forgetting.
called.
Yeah, there was an anime one. I forget what that one was too. Like
I think it's Before Crisis. I don't know. Dude.
I don't remember the names anymore.
Anyways, yeah.
But hopefully, like the good news is like maybe all that will be here and in a playable form. That's like that's a positive here. The thing here to understand is they're not presented as like streamlined, seamless experiences through the story of a game. They are if you've played Crisis Core, you're probably more familiar with the structure where there isn't anywhere to really explore. You launch into missions from a menu, and then you're confined to that little small segment of the game. So like even the Midgar reactor is not one whole stage.
Right.
It's part of the Midgar reactor. The bombing run is like you do the first part. Maybe there's a cutscene with just a bunch of dialogue. That's like the next part. Then you go back to the menu. Then you have to load the next part of the mission. And so it's very, very piecemeal. Very, very segmented, very, very broken up. And it doesn't even cover everything you saw in the original game. For example,
Right.
you do the bombing run mission, you blow up the reactor, You go back to 7th Heaven immediately. You're right there, and you do that. You do the meeting there. You don't even go downstairs. You don't even go down there. You just like have a conversation. Then you immediately go to the next reactor. You don't have like the train segment with the security checkpoints.
You're just there.
It's just very streamlined and it skips over a lot of stuff. But the big beats are still there. You still fight like the Scorpion Sentinel. You still fight the Airbuster. You're still fighting like one of those like magic looking mech things. I forget their name that like are also in like remake as well. You fight like you do have random encounters when you're exploring the area. Like you walk far enough, eventually it'll trigger a random encounter. There are like the boss fights are boss fights. Like they're it's very cinematic presentation for the combat. Full 3D models that look like the FF7 remake or the Crisis Core remaster. Like it's very
they look
high
good.
end. But when you are in the cutscenes, like the conversational cutscenes and or just exploring the environment, it's like an enhanced version of OG Final Fantasy VII. Looks very
Chibi.
nice. I will say, it's got that chibi look, but like it's very nice. And that is the one thing I lament the most and wish for is I just wish I could get a version of Final Fantasy VII done in these visuals with this soundtrack that I could just pay $40, $50 for.
Sure.
I would take that over what I'm getting here. This is like a sampler appetizer. I'm not getting fully satisfied off of any component of this in terms of having like a fully fleshed out like a gameplay experience.
Right.
Now, this is, as I said, also like this, the visuals are great. I'm running this on the iPhone 8 Plus. Yeah, the ancient thing right there. Lowest settings. There are graphical settings. So there's like low, medium, high, and ultra. So you can like crank it up if you got like, especially getting that new iPhone 15, you probably can crank it up to ultra easily.
Yeah, dude, you're running Death Stranding on that thing.
Yeah, like, and it like even on my iPhone 8 Plus, it looks really good and runs smoothly, like no hiccups or anything like that. So pretty impressive that they got this to run, but also again, it's also very compartmentalized. So like that's how I think they're getting around a lot of this. Soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We already had 7 remake and integrate intermissions, like rearrangements of these classic themes that blew me away. They're still doing it. They're still doing new versions of these songs, and like they're making them even like more epic sounding. And I'm like, oh wow, like you kind of like one up that like you had like one more like instrument or something to this piece, so it's like a little bit more like elaborate. I'm like, oh, this is nice. So like great soundtrack on there. It's only Japanese VO, I think, as of the moment.
Okay.
Maybe I haven't gotten the options to change that, but it defaulted to me to the Japanese VO, which is completely fine. Like everything else is like the chibi parts aren't voiced. It's just text bubbles again, very easy to follow. Like a lot of options, like you can like auto advance the text, you can just skip everything. Everything, it's all touchscreen controls. So like when you're moving around, you can either tap a spot and your character will walk to it, or you can just hold and drag, like a virtual analog stick. So like it'll move in that direction. And then you just have like things you tap on the screen for combat. So combat is just the ATB bar building up. When you have it's like 13. It's literally 13 when you have enough, or I mean, it's also 7 remake, but when you have enough, you can spend it on a skill. And then it just keeps recharging. After you've played enough of the opening of the game, it unlocks all the features, and one of them is just auto battle. Okay. And honestly, for all the remedial combat, you're just going to be hitting auto battle.
Jones is pleased, dude.
Oh, he's going to be pleased.
Dude, I got to Jones.
You can hit the speed up button too. Like the speed up button's there. Auto battle and speed up.
Jones about this, man. We got to know what
it
Jones
looks
thinks.
ridiculous. It's like, but for boss encounters, you can auto battle, but you still need to the big mechanic of boss battles so far is that they have either an attack you can interrupt, so you got to attack it enough times and then it'll be interrupted, or there'll be like this like enemy symbol above its head that starts like charging up, and you have stances in this game. You have the offensive and defensive stance. Before it fills up, you need to manually tap on the defensive icon so your team goes into defensive stance so they minimize the damage. Auto battle will not handle that for you as far as I understand. Or it might be, sometimes it's been luck, but like the optimal timing I think is you still want to tap it. And then your limit breaks, you need to manually activate those as well. You can stack them. So like if you get like 2 at a time or 3 at a time, you just click all 3 or 2 and those go back to back. And like they have like a multiplier that activates when you like do multiple at a time. So there is and obviously I've read that a little bit further than I am. Like there are some boss encounters where if you want to like beat them a little bit better, like more efficiently, you'll want to go manual maybe over what the auto battle does.
Sure.
Because you get experience and resources when you beat a battle, and you get every battle you get a ranking, and I think S might be the highest because I keep getting S. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just getting S ranks. I'm sure there are
auto
lower
battle.
ranks.
Yeah.
So this sounds very simple. Like, that doesn't sound so bad. Like this sounds pretty decent so far. So let's introduce you to the mobile mechanics.
Hold on, before we get into that,
sorry. Okay,
I have a question. How far does this, like, for 7, you're playing 7, how far does it go?
Okay, so you go until, I believe I gotta remember this, you meet Aerith and fight Reno, and then it unlocks Crisis Core. And you get booted out of 7. You can't advance any further in 7. You have to go to Crisis Core.
Okay.
Then you have to advance. Yeah, so you are gated at points. So I think, or I'm stuck now, is on the tower part, Reno Rude Part 2, going up to that. A lot of people are getting stuck on that part
so
too.
So it makes you go back and forth?
You gotta go back and forth. So you can that's kind of annoying too.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll change that in the future. But yeah, like I was like, wait, why can't I go? What's after the Reno battle? Like, why can't I want to escort Aerith home. What is this? I'm like, no, you must do this. Because there are certain features that are gated until you've done certain things. So I think they wanted to introduce certain mechanics in different games. And then it kind of like frees you up at a point where you could just go forward in either game.
Well, do you know how far it'll go? Will it go till like the end of 7? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's like the whole thing?
I'm pretty sure like I don't know if it's currently available because I haven't gone that far and I haven't read if anyone's gone to the end. Like maybe it is. There's a soft end right now and they're waiting for an update because they are doing constant updates to this game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the monetization.
Okay, so this all sounded like fine and nice, but I mean, there are just so many different like systems and currencies that you have to manage and deal with in order to progress in this game. So you have your characters, and then they all have like gear that you have to the gear, the weapons, materia, like you have to like earn this stuff. Some of it is through the gacha system. So gacha gets you characters and gets you like weapons. And I think some
gacha gets you characters.
Yeah. So sorry, not characters. It's just weapons. Sorry, it's just weapons. It tricks me because it looks like a character symbol when it's a 5-star. So it's like, oh, it's Cloud. I'm like, did I get a Cloud? It's like, no, it's a 5-star Cloud weapon. So weapons are through the gacha draw system, and you can either use depends on what type of it is. There's like seasonal promotional stuff where you have to use like paid currency. There's like blue crystals which you earn through the game. There's red crystals which are paid crystals. Then there are like tickets, like draw tickets, gotcha tickets you earn through the game as well, that you can spend on those as well. And there's like 3 or 4 different categories of draws of weapon types. There's like limited time ones, like just sets, and like it gets kind of confusing, honestly. It's a little overwhelming. And that's how you like draw in new weapons. And then you can enhance those weapons using like resources. So like in those battles in the game, you earn like other resources on top of experience. So you're leveling up your characters. Then you have their gear. You can enhance their gear. Like the gear has a level as well. So weapons have a level. They start up to level 20. Then you can break that and go up to higher levels. Then you can like enhance other parts of it. Then you have materia slots. You can unlock more materia slots. I think you start with like 1 or 2 at the beginning. And then you can enhance materia as well. And that gives you like your spells. So basically you have like a loadout. You have all this gear that you can slot in. There's a option to do recommended, but you still have to manually go into each of them and upgrade them and spend resources. And each character, when you've like equipped all this gear and you got your character level, factors in, it gives you a power level basically. And you can have up to 3 party members in most battle situations when you get far enough. And you have a combined power level. Your missions that you select have a recommended power level. So when you're under it, you're probably going to get your ass kicked and like have no chance of beating it. So this is where you will start hitting gated stuff, like around like the tower part where I was at. Like you really are not going to, like you're just playing normally, you're not going to be ready for that. You're going to have to go through and spend time. You have story missions. which is like the default stuff. You have solo missions, which are like dungeons, like rerun like an area, like a dungeon's like part of the Mako reactor. And like they have these glowy spots, which are like boss encounters. And the more you do, the more resources you earn, but you have to spend stamina to do these. There's also like weapon enhancement quests. There are limited time events you can do as well. There's a co-op thing. I haven't like done that yet. And then there's like, I think one other category I can boot up in a second, double check, but all these require some kind of like either concurrent stamina to participate in, and you're trying to earn all these resources and currencies to enhance your characters to improve their weapons, their materia, their gear. You can also go to this exchange where you can exchange for like cosmetic stuff. So like if you saw that artwork of all that cool outfits, I got a Tifa's alt outfit. But like, you know, they just introduced a new beach outfit for her, like a summer beachwear one that you can like get. So they're doing that, and while you can earn those through playing the game, the cash shop.
Yeah, let's talk
Here
about
we go.
Yeah.
So I took a look at the cash shop. I'm gonna bring this up for you, but when I see a price tag that's more expensive than any current gen game for anything, I just start freaking the hell out. I'm like, why? Why is there just not an option for me to pay like $40-$50 and get all this stuff, because that's what it is. So here we go. Here I'll show this to you. They got a shop. They got all these things. They got like daily stuff. Like look at these prices. Goes up to the like legendary packs.
Yeah, what's the most expensive
So
thing?
the most expensive legendary pack is $70, monthly epic pack 1. It comes with red crystals, which you need, and then a bunch of resources for upgrading. Oh, there's also gil in this game, which you can also buy stuff with as well.
20,000 gil.
Yeah, 20,000 gil. Then you have the passes. You have like these are like daily. These are like boost packs for you. There is a season pass as well. They got the 2 tracks. They got like the free one, and then they got the premium one as well. Then they got like daily ones that like you can spend, and they refresh every day. Those go up to $39. Is that the most expensive one? Yeah, $70 for a daily one.
Daily pack.
Yeah, then they got like the crystal packs. These are the ones to like you can spend for draws, and then you can buy gil or spend gil to buy stuff like that. And then you come down. Yeah, you go to the draw shop, and like here, like look, special. The special one only uses red crystal, so it's a guaranteed 5-star, but you got to use the paid currency only. And then you have like other featured ones, which you can use like blue or red. You do earn blue in the game, but red is paid only. And then you can use tickets you earn through different like activities in the game. But again, all these activities, when you go to the home screen has like your story content, but solo content is where you're going to grind out most of the stuff. And they have like limits on this, like the stamina system. You have to spend stamina. You see there's like a stamina cost.
I see.
And then there's like a reset timer on some of these as well. So it's just, yeah, it's a lot. And then like the party screen, like just look at that, like all those slots. That looks cool and shit, but like all that stuff, you gotta like, it's not normal systems. Like if this was a normal, straightforward RPG with just, even if it was episodic like this, I'd be down to pay like, you know, a fixed price and like play each of these individually. And so that's where you're losing someone like me. I understand this is, some people like that kind of like gambling aspect of it. Like I drew that cool thing. I want that high rush.
Those pulls.
And yeah, they're going for the whales. This is like my biggest disappointment, is that this could have been something.
I honestly, I expected it to be like this the whole time.
To be fair,
And like, that's all pretty standard mobile stuff, like the pricing. But yes, I understand, because it's Final Fantasy VII, we want it to be pristine.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like there's some good parts to it, no doubt, but just the monetary stuff.
Yeah,
the slot machine with the story.
Yeah.
The bummer of the thing is that some content will only be through, like First Soldier. It's offline now. So First Soldier storyline, especially if it becomes somewhat relevant in Rebirth or future ones.
Yes, it will.
And if they add in the older stuff that like it's with the JP only mobile game, it's like, or phone game, it's like, wait, what? Like I have to play it through this? Man, like I would rather have like 15 Pocket Edition, like make 7 Pocket Edition or something like that, and like sell it separately.
Dude, make a cutscene out of it, like they did with some of the Kingdom Hearts mobile stuff.
Almost, I take that. Also, there's the watch ads thing.
Oh, okay,
you can do 2 of those a day to get more currency.
That's funny.
Okay.
So it is full in on that. You can be spending so much money on this game, and that's what they want. And to me, that's not me. I just want to pay a fixed price and jump in. So I played a good amount of this, played like several hours of this, but I think like unfortunately I'm out. So and it just stinks because the first soldier stuff I really would like to experience.
That's what I'm the most curious about. Yeah. I haven't installed, but I've not touched it yet.
It is a pretty big install. You can do like the full install. It's like 5 gigs, I think. But, it's the same thing. You get like constant updates to the game. They're doing notices. They do give you like the daily logins, the you do like the bonuses for like doing consecutive days.
Right.
So there is a way to play for free and not spend any money on any of this and like keep going. It's just not just that. It's just like having to keep track of the different systems to enhance.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm already all in on one of these games with 14. I don't need I don't need something else like this in my life.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with the Disney Speedstorm, where it's like, and they put that on consoles as well. But yeah, it's just there's so many weird little currencies and things going on that it's like, that it just completely overwhelms the idea that like, oh, this is actually a good, fun racing game because what's this crystal and that thing and all the little things that you have to keep track of.
Yeah.
My hope is that maybe at some point in the future, if like the fun sales of this slow down, like the microtransaction sales start slowing down, they consider maybe doing like a standalone release of this, like we're gonna
Pocket edition.
Well, I think they just that Mega Man game, right?
Yep.
They released the offline version.
Yeah,
of it.
offline. Yeah. This does require a connection too, so this game goes into maintenance and stuff, and you can't play it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing with this is that you're at the it's a service game. You're going to have to like. I can't just play it at any point. I want to like 7 Remake. It's like I can just jump in or OG7. I can just play it anytime. This maintenance, you're locked out.
Matt Roden. Howdy, Brad and Co. I'm now a few hours into Final Fantasy Ever Crisis and am so far mostly enjoying the fast-paced nature of the game with each mission lasting only a few minutes.
Yep.
Great for the classic played on public transport feel. However, now that I've completed a few chapters of the 3 main storylines, I can start to feel the gacha components of the game creeping in.
There it is.
As a veteran of countless classic RPGs, I was expecting there to be some grinding, even looking forward to it. But now the fear is creeping in that the grind is going to quicken and more aggressively be used as a tool to force more gacha engagement, which I have very little interest in. How are the allies finding the game so far? And is the same gacha fear there for you? Also, thanks for taking my question. Dude, love, respect, Matt. Yes, Damiani is feeling the fear.
Yeah, I started to feel it. I'm like around. I think about we're probably around like the same point. It sounds like and. Yeah, just going into like the Reddit threads to see people who are like further ahead or how long it took for people to get past it without paying. It's like it is like people are like that was more grinding than I expected to do. And like these are from some people who have played a lot of these mobile games. Like they are really pushing you, nudging you like you need pay up, man, and pay up if you really don't want to deal with this. And it's like, not getting me on that.
All right, let's move on to our final game. The making of, or is it just the making?
The Making of Karateka, yeah.
Making of Karateka, yes. I did not write of.
Yeah.
What is this, Blood?
Yeah, this is interesting. So this is like they're basically Digital Eclipse is over here making a new genre. So especially as a follow up, last year they did the Atari 50 collection. And like in a lot of their collections or whatever, they've had like a lot of these box arts and other documents and stuff. This is like, and I've been obsessed with this yesterday because I thought I'd just pick it up and get through it real quick or whatever. And I've been hours and hours, and I'm like seeing it all now. But yeah, it's like an interactive documentary museum piece where they, it stretches over like 5 chapters, but then they have like all these timelines. So it's like as you go through it, and like look at an item or watch a video or whatever, it'll like, fill in like a little bubble on the timeline. And it's super fascinating to me for a number of reasons. Number one, my old friend Chris Kohler, who's over at Digital Eclipse now, this is like basically the main project he's been involved with like since he started working there. But then along with that, I'd never heard of this freaking game. This is the game that Jordan Mechner made before Prince of Persia. And the kind of like one of the introductory, because they have these little like documentary videos are like 3 to 4 minutes a piece typically. And so like the kind of one that gets you sort of into what all is going on. It's got, one of the founders from id Software in there. It's got one of the founders from like Ultima Online in there. It's got John Tobias from Mortal Kombat in there. All of them talking about like just how obsessed they were with this game, how influential it was. And I'm just like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
This game and groundbreaking in terms of what it was doing for animation, for like cinematic language in a video game, for like story in a video game, for even music in a video game. Because this is an Apple II PC release in 1984 that Jordan Mechner made while he was in college. And the way this thing plays out is it's interesting because it's like the only other way that I could see you experiencing this in a similar way is if there was like a museum exhibit and you walked around a museum exhibit and you saw all of this stuff out there, because there are just so many different mediums that are represented. So like I said, there are these little mini documentaries here and there. You watch a little video for a couple minutes and cool. And then maybe there'll be like things down the node. So like you go like the timeline horizontally, but then sometimes the node will have like additional materials below it. So like if you have something about him drawing or whatever, then you can go down and then you can see like all of the graph paper with the sprites on it, or the storyboards for what the story is going to be like, or his notes, or screenplay. But what's even crazier is throughout this, they've also got letters back and forth between him and publishers. And so like, here, I'm making this game or whatever, would you be interested in sending it? And then they say yes, and then he's got a letter that goes back with the copy of the game, and then they send back notes, and then the revisions, the back and forth of what they think's wrong with the game, and then a couple of months later he sends a new build, and just like it's just wild. And then his dad was really involved in a lot of ways, but he composed the music. And so they have a lot of these videos are like interviews with him and his dad there telling their stories about what they remember, and like at a piano to where they can kind of go through some of the themes and stuff. But in addition to all of that, in addition to like having like shots of sheet music in there, they've also have a 15-minute podcast from Kirk Hamilton breaking down like all the notation structure and all of this. And we're talking for like theme songs that are like 3 to 4 seconds long, like just breaking it all down. And one of the things, because of how limited the technology was at the time with the Apple II, the original version, the Apple II could not animate and play music at the same time.
Oh man, that's funny.
So basically, it was designed to where you would have like this thing play out, and there'd be a dramatic pause, and then a little bit of music would play. And then the next little scene, and then it'd be like cross-cutting as you're walking back and forth. And okay, so now if you're like me and had no idea what Karateka even is, the easiest like analog I can give to this is it is Sifu in 1984.
Oh.
So. And again, at a time when like most games were like maze games or asteroids or all of this kind of stuff, this was like one of the first kind of like actual like martial arts fighting types of things. And so the way it works is that you run left to right, and then you've got a punch and a kick button, and then with the joystick you do high, mid, low attacks against these enemies. And you've got life bars on the bottom, which are triangles. And what's interesting is, so when obviously when you hit or take a hit, like, triangles go away. But then if you kind of like back off, then they'll regenerate over time.
Oh.
And so that's part of the strategy is like, I'm taking a bunch of hits. let me back off for a second. Let me kind of like refill my health and then go back in. And then part of the craziness of the increasing difficulty is so you have like a combat stance and you have just kind of like a running, walking stance. And so when you take down a guard, because you're trying to get to the end of this palace to like rescue the captured princess, right? Just very like basic stuff. But when you take down a guard, then the emperor or whatever, he sends out another guard. So you've got to run as far as you can make it through the game before the next guard catches up to you, and then you got to go back into combat stance. If you keep running, the guy will just hit you and you're dead. Game over. You have to be in combat stance to block. And one of the ways that they've got a couple of trolls in the game. One of the trolls is in the second level. There's a bird that comes out. And this is like an infamous bird. It's like a Ninja Gaiden bird kind of thing. Oh. Because when the bird comes out, again, if you don't stop in a combat stance, the bird just flies in and hits you, and you're dead. But then, like when you hear it, because there's a bird sound effect, you're like, "Arr!" And so it's like, okay, stop, and then you're waiting to see whether it's going to be high, mid, or low, and you got to like kick at just the right time to hit that bird. Otherwise, it's going to take a couple of knocks off of your health bar, and then you got to like start the next fight with the next guy with a lower health bar. But even as you're like going through the guys, your health bar isn't always consistently the same. Like it'll refill after a fight, but when it refills, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter based on the difficulty of the next enemy. They'll have, because it always, when you're both at full health, it always fills up the whole bottom of the screen. So sometimes they'll have more health than you have, and you have to like work from that disadvantage. Okay. And then it gets harder and harder as you go through. And then the best troll in the game, I'm just talking about the game at this point, but is with that combat stance versus running stance. After you've gone through all the guards, and after you've gotten past the traps, and after you've killed the bird, you actually have to have like a fight with the bird before the final boss, and you take down that final boss, you walk into the room with the princess. If you walk up to the princess in combat stance, she will kick you in the face and game over. Because you're in combat stance.
That's funny.
You have to run up to her, and then you'll have the hug smooching animation.
That's funny, man.
It's so funny. But anyways, so that's the game, and I've actually been obsessed with the game as well. But you go through this whole timeline of everything that's gone through. So you start with him getting like an Apple II to program on and like making a clone of asteroids and selling that to, because software is such a novel thing, it's like selling it to like a book publisher, and then the publisher then like getting essentially like a cease and desist or whatever from Atari, and so then he's had to like change the asteroids game. But here's the thing, these games ended up never getting published, but they're in here and you can play them.
Whoa, that's sick.
Yeah, and then the next game he made is called Death Bounce, and it was still kind of a take on asteroids, but the first version, you've got balls bouncing around the thing, and he sent that off to Broderbund, and they're like, okay, you're doing, like, your programming is amazing, but like this just isn't very interesting. And so they like I said, months back and forth, this and this and that, and eventually he just like, all right, I've got more interesting things in the works. Like, I'm not actually gonna like, do any more revisions on this. But again, there are like 4 prototypes of this game and a remastered version of the game in there that still like it tries to look as much like the original games as it could, but it actually like implements some of the feedback that they got from focus testers and stuff, and like makes the momentum of the ship feel better, and turns it into a twin stick shooter with kind of like modern controls and stuff. And so it's like, oh, this is like an actual like playable version of this concept of this game that was never released. And then when you get to Karateka itself, similarly, it's like you have the initial prototype that he sent to Broderbund, and then they were like, okay, this is cool, this is great, but like we think it still like needs more levels and progression and variety and stuff. And so then he flew out to California for the summer between semesters in college and worked with their team to basically finish the game.
Wow.
But you have like each of these different builds. Basically, it's like, okay, here's when they put the second level in, but there's not an ending. Then here's when they put the third level, and then here's the final game. And then they have a remastered version as well. And what's crazy about this is the head of Digital Eclipse, Mike Micah, he had been wanting to like port this like 30 years ago.
Wow.
And so he didn't just remaster it for modern machines. He wanted to figure out like what. Oh, also, I didn't even get to this. There's also the Commodore 64 version and the Apple Atari version.
Oh,
the Atari PC version are in there too, and they went through the whole process of porting that and interviews with the person that ported that. Anyways, but with the remaster, he didn't want to just remaster it for a modern PC necessarily without any limitations. He wanted to sort of like get to the root of why this game was so hard to port, because those secondary ports that they worked specifically in line with Jordan to do, those were all seen as being pretty good. But then like everything after that, like the IBM version and the Famicom version, and like they were all like horrible, like really bad reputations for how bad they ported them. And when Mike Micah did this for this collection, he basically made up like a fantasy PC that doesn't exist. It's like somewhere around the era of like VGA PCs, Amiga PCs. So like, let's say like 10 years later, if you had remastered it then, because he wanted to see where the limitations were and why this was so difficult. And basically one of the main things that comes down to is the AI. Is that Jordan had just so finely tuned the AI that if you basically change just about anything else in the game, it breaks the AI. And so he was saying, like, even with this remaster, as happy as they are with the remaster, and they even pulled in things that, like, had to sit on the cutting room floor because Jordan had to go back to college. They put those in the remaster.
Okay.
He still says, like, the AI is the weakest part of the remaster because just what he was doing was so good and so groundbreaking. But there's just so much other stuff in there. Like there's this, because one of the things that he did, which was crazy, is he filmed his family's karate instructor doing karate moves, and then he filmed his dad like running and like climbing up onto a car to get these different animations. And then he took a moviola to go frame by frame and then trace their bodies from the footage.
Yeah.
And then he took this thing called like a Versawriter and traced that onto the Apple II to get the pixels and then cleaned up the pixels. And so there are these parts in there where you can actually take all four of those different layers.
Wow.
And then kind of like turn them on and off or like increase their opacity so you can see like the final pixels on top of the sketch, or you can see the rough pixels on top of the footage of his dad. And just all these little things that you couldn't really, like you could sort of show them in a movie, but not really. And just the fact that like, yeah, that you can just like read all of these letters and backs and forths, and like him not having it when they were wanting to make a Karateka 2, and he's like, yeah, well, if you're going to do that, like, you need to pay me royalties. And it's like, well, you're not really doing any work on it. It's like, but I made the thing that you're trying to, so this Karateka 2 that never happened.
Yeah.
Because eventually, like, the real Karateka 2 is Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
It's a wild thing.
Yeah, that sounds insane.
And yeah, like I said, just was obsessed with it last night, just going through the whole thing. And then like once I had actually gone through the whole thing, it's like, okay, now let me go back to the remastered, played through all of the remastered thing, and then okay, now let me go back to the original. But just even seeing like the differences between prototypes and the controls and stuff like that. And then one of the challenges with the Commodore version and the Atari version is their joysticks only had one button. And so you had to go from a 2-button punch kick to short press is punch, long press
is kick.
But even there, the difference is because he was pushing the Apple II so hard that like when he would have like complex scenery, which is just like a gate that you walk through, the game would basically slow down and the frame rate would be slower. The Atari version didn't have that issue. So what it was actually, even though you had to deal with the short press, long press, it's kind of the easier thing to get accustomed to. And then you go back to the original, which is still kind of the best in terms of everything put together. But then the Commodore 64, they did completely different music. So just wild.
That is wild.
So many different things. And it's like, I've loved to like diving into it, like, again, like a game that I never heard of. And so like going through these steps and not having the reference point of this game, but seeing it kind of form through this timeline. And then just seeing like all of these aspects of the development process that you usually don't get to see.
Yeah.
Them going back and forth and like what's going to be written on the back of the box and all of that stuff.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Big history lesson.
Yeah. And, you know, this is what they essentially call the first of the Gold Master series. So I'm really curious.
What will be next?
What will be next?
Yeah.
Would they ever get to do something like the first Final Fantasy?
Oh.
And the things that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, all fed into, you know, that moment happening. You know, there's a lot of potential for what they're doing.
Definitely. Sick stuff. All right. We're going to end the show with some emails. If you want to send an email to us, head on over to patreon.com/easyallies, $5 and up. Send in questions to this show, Easy Allies podcast, reaction shots, all that good stuff. All right. Let's go. First one is from Jiggy Diggs. Greetings, allies. I am looking forward to the new Forza game. Flashback to early 2022. I would have laughed at the thought of a future me being excited for a simulation racing game. But I took the leap into GT7 in March of 2022 and fell in love. So much so that it's changed the way I look and talk about cars. My question for the allies is this. What games of unfamiliar genres have you taken a chance on that makes you fall in love with the new genre of games? So, and then we just took a weird genre we took a chance on. We ended up loving it. I did play GT7 and I did really like it. It's just time.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times what it comes down to.
Yeah, where I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like this.
When Flight Simulator came out, you know, that's like something that I haven't spent a lot of time with, and you know, I was digging it. I was doing like these like kind of like bush plane flights over South America or whatever, and I was like, this is cool. You know, I could definitely put some more time into it, but yeah, as we were saying, it's like it always feels like there's some project to knock you out of whatever weird thing you might be getting into.
Oh, I actually have the better answer. It's a CRPG. When I played Divinity 2, that was like the first time I ever really played one of those ever, and I was like, wow, this is super good. And like, been trying to play Baldur's Gate 3, and it's like so good. So yeah, definitely that for me. Damiani?
FTL.
FTL, yeah, dude, you love
roguelike.
FTL.
Yeah.
I see you playing that game. I feel like at least once every 2 weeks here.
Yeah, just
that I see.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a. I don't know if I exactly said this, but I wanted to throw it in there just because once, because with Karateka, the with the Mortal Kombat guy in there, like after I had like processed enough of this stuff, like I could totally see it. It's like, oh yeah, Mortal Kombat is 100% this game, because it was like their first game was like, you know, like even though there was the gore and fatalities and stuff, it was still very rooted in like grounded martial arts and filming people and taking that film and turning it into sprites, and it's like it's the same process, you know, in that one-on-one combat. Like, yeah, it's like this is the progenitor of that, and I just had no idea it existed. Yeah.
All right. Next is from Neo JD. At the time of me writing this, rumors are swirling that Embracer wants to get rid of Gearbox. Who would you like to see them go to? Personally, I would like to see them be independent if possible.
Yeah, I want to say that they were before Embracer. So yeah, it could be like a Bungie situation where they just kind of buy back their independence and then get sold to somebody else.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the most likely bedfellow would be Take-Two.
Yeah, that seems
since they've already had such a long relationship with them. But it's weird because it's like some of this stuff outside of Borderlands that Gearbox is doing, like publishing Remnant and other games like that, like a lot of these publishing partners that could purchase them, like they already have that side of things that they're doing.
Right.
So it's like Gearbox is almost like too big in a way to, like they're not, but it's, just like the way that they operate, it's, it would take a pretty big partner and it would feel like they would maybe lose some bits in that. It's like, this is just redundant, even if it's a year or two later.
Definitely. What do you think, Damiani?
I mean, I think Take-Two is the most realistic, just because also like the rights tie up with like Borderlands. It's like, just outright just buy them and like not risk another situation like that again. Or I'd rather them not go to like a Sony or Microsoft at this point. I mean, someone where they could just like continue to be, maybe multi-platform guaranteed. So like the only thing I can think of is like maybe Epic or something. Like keeping them like, like giving them the support. I mean, Epic does do its publishing, but like made it like, well, Gearbox is like a subsidiary publisher of us. Like they already have their things. Like we can just offer you, like you can also offer the Epic platform as well when you're to these publishers and on top of that. So maybe that's a better fit. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. All right. This is from It's Beyond Me. Hey, everyone. I was having a discussion with my cousin about Armored Core 6, and he mentioned that it had performance issues. At first, I thought he meant it was buggy or ran poorly, but apparently he meant that it was unable to keep a stable 60 FPS when run in performance mode. This is similar to what we've experienced with games like Elden Ring or FF16 on PS5. So in my opinion, this isn't what I would call an issue. I understand that it would be ideal for games to run at a stable 60 FPS in performance mode, but I personally not surprised, nor would I call it an issue when a game can't hit it. However, maybe my cousin's right, and we should expect a game to hit a stable 60 if they are claiming to have a performance mode. I don't know all the factors involved, and I feel like that it might be an impossibility on PS5 hardware, but perhaps I'm wrong. What do you guys think? Am I giving game devs too much credit, or should a performance mode feature be expected to perform at the incredible standard? Thanks for taking my question. Love respects. It's beyond me. Performance modes don't always hit 60. And now it just kind of seems like it's just a higher frame rate and you're going to get what you're going to get. It feels like a lot of times it is always nice when it's locked to 60. Like, so for example, Jedi Survivor had performance mode, but it wasn't a constant 60 or anything like that. But now there's the new patch that is like constant 60 throughout the whole time. Armored Core like had some drops, but it was never for like for an instance for me where it like really took away anything from it.
Right.
And like we've grown up for so long playing games, with like bad frame rates. So it's like for frame rate to like ruin a game for me, it's got to be pretty bad. Like I can play 30 FPS games. I can play games that drop 30 FPS and still play it. But yeah, I think with performance mode, it's hard to say if it should be 60 FPS always. I think that's the ideal every time, but I don't know. Maybe they can come up with some different terms. Like 60 FPS mode and performance mode are like labeled separately, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean performance. Yeah, you're getting higher performance, right?
Yeah,
like you're trading off some shadows or whatever effects to be able to increase because. Yeah, like you're saying, is like when you're talking about performance issues, and frame rate in particular, what the thing comes to my mind is like the Great Deku Tree in Breath of the Wild. Oh. Like you walk through there and it's like
that ruined the moment for me. That was a bad moment.
Yeah. So it definitely can be a thing, but it's got to be fairly severe, I think. And you get little drops here and there when things explode. It is sort of to be expected because it's like you just have to like put your mindset into like what all the heck is happening.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like the game is loading in content and it is running however many AIs and it is doing lighting passes and particle passes and tracking all of your inputs and doing audio and doing the reverb and the ray tracing or whatever on that audio, depending on the game. And it is doing all of that 60 times every second. Mm-hmm. All of that has to be done in every frame, every single thing that is happening in that game. So it is kind of insane to think about.
Yeah. I think I could be more lenient on certain genres of games too.
Right.
Like if I'm playing a fighting game, I want it to be 60,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If I'm playing like a racing game, I want it to be 60.
Because sometimes it's like, okay, just what are your priorities?
Yeah,
right now?
exactly.
It's like, did you really need that scarf to wave around?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Physics is another part of it, yeah.
In terms of it being an impossibility in PS5 hardware, it's not. It's totally doable in PS5. It just depends on the game or like how they go about developing it, how much of a focus it is. Because, you know, we're seeing first-party stuff. It's run like crazy. Like Horizon Forbidden West ran insanely good and looked so good when I played that game. Spider-Man's probably going to be like the same thing.
Right.
So it's just a case-by-case basis, I guess.
Insomniac, though, they started off that performance RT.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're wizards, man.
Yeah.
Those guys are wizards. First party, I always expect the best from, always. All right, this is from a great name right here. Here for Huber, but love you all, 69. Howdy, allies. The recent release of Starfield got me thinking, is more of the same really a bad thing? While I know it's been criticized for using the same Bethesda formula, for example, I'm still loving the game. Would love to hear your thoughts on this topic.
No, I don't think so necessarily. I mean, I think there are really just like a few things that are sort of stylistic to Bethesda that could just go a long way, like their cinematic presentation of dialogue and stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like those are the bits where it's like, oh, I don't know here, you know, and just yeah, and then sometimes just the way things look in certain lighting or whatever. But I don't know, structurally, like, I have a pretty good time with it. Mm-hmm. You know, just going around talking to people and making choices and, you know, whatever else, you know, but it's like, yeah, as long as those conversations and those storylines are interesting to you and you like some of these characters, then yeah, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about there being a formula when there's so much other stuff tacked onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we talk about this a lot where like sometimes there's another game that's like this is what people want. I think, again, fair or not, sometimes bigger high profile releases just carry expectations with them.
They do.
This isn't like some obscure like PS2 platformer. Hasn't been around in like 20 years. We're getting another entry in it. It's like, oh, it's more of the same. It's a PS2 style game, but like that's just what we wanted. Like we've had a lot of Bethesda games, and their last one was a bit of a misstep out of the gate. So I think people were just like, can they get back to their previous form? And the way they talked about Starfield, though, they were like talking how ambitious it was. Like they were just talking it up. So I think they kind of had some self-inflicted damage there. That if this is like, something you were going to give us more of the same, but just like a different setting, different vibes, like maybe you should have taken that approach and like worded it a little bit better, because it definitely felt like it was supposed to carry the Bethesda DNA, but also offer like a lot new. And it doesn't quite feel like, definitely offers the former, but not a lot, I think, enough of the latter for some people.
See.
Yeah, I think it's the thing. Like when you've seen like, for as long as Elder Scrolls has been going on, and those last 3 Fallout games, I suppose. And then, here's your brand new IP. You can do whatever you want in space, and okay, you're basically doing that thing again. Mm-hmm. I can definitely see some people being taken back by it.
Yeah. All right, this is from Obisco. Hey, allies. I just pulled up my Spotify playlist with my favorite video game music, and that I just collected over the years, and I stumbled across the awesome music by Lena Raine from Chicory.
Nice.
And then that led me to a thought. Thanks to the countless releases, games like Chicory have such a short life in the light, and it kind of made me feel sad for all the awesome little games that are great but probably forgotten by most people. Some other examples I can think of that are fantastic that I feel titles that no one talks about anymore are probably not very high in most people's backlogs are games like Child of Light, Chained Echoes, Owlboy, Gorgoa. Gorgoa?
Gorgoa,
yeah. Chia or Fist. Sometimes even new games like Blasphemous 2 give off the vibe they won't stay with most of us for too long, unfortunately. My question is there any similar or smaller game you can think of that you wish more people would play and talk about? Thanks for everything you do. Love and respect. Yeah, this is just kind of like the sad reality of there's so many damn video games.
Right.
It can be easy to get lost and forgotten.
I mean, I have a spreadsheet that I keep of like all the games, that come out throughout the year, and then whether we've got codes for it or not. But like at the top of that is basically like my backlog of frame trap games. These little things that are like, oh yeah, Space for the Unbound. I want to play that at some point before the end of the year. Or Dordogne. Yeah, that looked cool. Let me check that out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much, recommending a lot of things to myself.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't think these are like amazing games or anything, but I think they're good games that I really like, and it's all the Tokyo RPG Factory games, all three of them.
Oh yeah.
I like those games, but I don't feel like anyone played them. Some people played the first one, I Am Setsuna.
Right.
But I feel like Lost Sphere and Oninaki, like no one really played.
Right.
Kind of bums me out. What about you, Damiani? Anything?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I'm also like guilty of this because like
We all are.
Yeah, I just like see a lot of them and like I don't know. Like I mean, I didn't play enough of it to talk about on Frame Trap, but like I played like a little over an hour of like Blasphemous 2, and I'm like, this is cool, but like
don't worry, I'll get to it one day.
But I was also like, to be fair, like I didn't get far into it, but I'm like, I'm not like, yeah, this is good, but like there's just. Especially this year, it's like there's just so many other games that
you'd
are
rather
like,
play.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
I also
fine.
like understand like smaller games, people find joy in those, but like I don't know, that's kind of comes with the territory. Like, well, they are smaller, which means they're gonna have smaller audiences, which
Often,
means
yeah,
if you're looking for like a larger group of people to discuss and champion them, like you're probably that's how it is. Like, bigger games are just going to draw the bigger audiences and get the bigger fan bases that, talk about it a lot longer. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like, it feels like, the marketing budget is like either isn't there or just isn't big enough to compete or whatever. Like, Goodbye Volcano High just finally came out like a month ago, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few people that have played through it, but it's one of those things that like we saw so much of that game and like different directs and things, and then when it was like time for it to release, it just felt like I had no idea that it was coming.
Yeah, might be something. I don't know how easy it is for smaller developers to do it, but maybe just borrow a page from some of the bigger publishers now and bigger developers where they don't have long lead times for their games. You announce, like wait till, I mean, there might be a variety of reasons why they need to announce it sooner. They need like funding, or they're trying to secure another, like I need another artist to come work for me. Here's what I'm working on. I need to be public about it because I can't find anyone. I need to network. So I understand that, but if you have the luxury, maybe only announcing it a few months before it comes out so you capitalize on that is just a better strategy for all games in general, because as we get more and more, like the longer you have to like hold people's attention, the harder it's going to be, like that first impression is like the best time, and then it just gets harder and harder and harder until you get to release dates. So
yeah, well, it's been nice seeing Sea of Stars get so much recognition, and sales also, which has been really nice, because I feel like that could have been a game that got swallowed up, because, just like, it was like right before Starfield and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, shout out to them. All right, this is from Parasite Paladin back again. Every press conference or video presentation has down moments, whether it's ads, sizzle reels, or esports. They are necessary to keep the lights on. What do you feel is the maximum amount of these down moments that can happen in a row before it starts to negatively affect the presentation? depending on how big the previous game show was, I think I'd let them get away with 3 in a row. So yeah, I guess just that awards shows, like Keighley stuff or whatever, there's ad breaks like that. PC gaming show, I think about like how much is too much, do you think?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like if you have like a hard time limit, I mean, like with the awards show, like they it feels like, you know, it's not about how many, it's like the time you're doing it, like the window, like 30 to 60 seconds feels like, you know, the max you should probably ever do one of those breaks and then like get back to it for those. Because I definitely seen like Evo has like long stretches. Like they'll have like 30 minutes to an hour of just like ads running because it's like in between their things.
Matches
so
and sets,
yeah, this feels like it's kind of like contextual based on like what we're doing here. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's the amount in a row. It's like the time and when it's coming in between.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance for sure. Any thoughts on that, Blood?
Yeah, it's weird because it's a pacing thing, and it's like there's some of these things that it is weird to think about. Why is this in here? Like, like when you get like a Rainbow Six update,
yes,
in a Ubisoft conference, and it's like, I know there's a lot of people playing Rainbow Six out there, obviously, but are they the people watching this press conference right now?
Correct. Yeah.
And like, I'm not sure that they are, and even if they are even they excited about
Yeah,
this?
maybe they're trying to get...
I just don't know.
Maybe they're trying to get the people who aren't in yet, too.
Well, that's what...
But I don't even know if
that's not going to excite people.
That's not... Yeah, it's like people are just... Yeah, like, all right, it's time to pull out my phone or go get some chips or something. Like,
you announced Monster Hunter's coming to your game. Like, when I was like, 14 will never be one of these state up... What like, that's the weirdest thing. And then, like, that same state of play. Monster Hunter! I'm like, oh, okay. If there's one thing you got to do, you can announce, like, Monster Hunter in your game. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
That's, like, attention grabbing. Not like, we are adding 2 dyes now for your clothing.
Yeah. So it's like the traditional explanation and be like, okay, well, you know, press conferences are, you know, they're for the shareholders and the press and all that stuff. But it's like, the way the shows are now, it's like...
It's for the public now.
Yeah, it's very much for directly to your consumers.
Mm-hmm. So you're selling ads and stuff too, so yeah.
So, yeah, it's weird.
All right, one final bonus one. Some Karch Palasti. Brad, which is better so far? Chain Echoes or Sea of Stars? While I'm enjoying my time with Sea of Stars so far, I feel a bit underwhelmed. Chain Echoes may have been unpolished at times, but it was also trying a lot of interesting things with its gameplay and story. Sea of Stars is visually stunning and has a killer soundtrack, but it's otherwise kind of bland. Hopefully by the end, I'll have a different opinion. Thoughts? Well, Karch, I have not played Sea of Stars at all, so I cannot give you my thoughts.
I have not played Chained Echoes.
But I really liked Chained Echoes. I think
pretty good.
Chained Echoes I thought was one of the best games last year. And it sounds like this could be in that same camp almost.
Yeah.
Seems like.
I'm really impressed with... I mean, from what we've talked about with, you know, difficulty in RPGs, particularly Final Fantasy 16, one of my most impressed things with Sea of Stars is that it maintains a really good sweet spot of difficulty.
That's a hard thing to do.
Throughout. Mm-hmm. And, you know, maybe it's a consequence of not having a bunch of side quests, fetch quests to go back and forth to places you've already been or whatever.
Well, you can't just sidestep every attack like you can in 16.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like I just always feel like the enemies are right in a good spot to where like I'm not getting like torn down and like having to keep my party alive all the time, but somebody might go down here and there, you know, and I'm not just powering through everything, and also just like all the way up through the end of the game, just lots and lots of new enemy types and lots of guys that will screw around with your expectations. And these, you know, they really do a good job with, you know, that action, you know, as a turn-based game, but, you know, the action inputs and how you know, have to block and attack and all of that.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. I cannot wait to play it. All right, boys, that's going to do it for this episode of Frame Trap. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening or whatever you're doing right now. Thank you so much for being here with us. Do you dudes have any final words you want to say or anything like that?
No, I'm all good.
Yeah, we're all good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Still have to beat that Karateka original
right,
version,
yeah.
but it's close.
Old
Taking
games.
over
I got all the way
That's
down in the
mine.
basement, but they got me.
All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.